Danese, Soto, Sikkini, and Slavey First Nations. We value the Métis people that live and gather here. We commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land, and we acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. First order of business is 2 delegations. 2.1, we have Johanna Martens, Executive Director, and Emma Hawkins, the Kiwanis Performing Arts Center, in attendance regarding the 2024 Peace Arts Festival review. So good morning and welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
If you can just hit your button on there, Johanna, I will turn it on. Oh, just once, yeah, and then I'll turn it on. So yeah, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having us here this morning on a nice snowy winter morning. We approached you folks here last year to help us to put on our first Peace Arts Festival last June. And so we're just here to say a big thank you because it was a huge success and we couldn't have done it without, your support and the support of the community together. So, move forward. So the biggest thing for us was we, as a community group of artists and different groups of the community, came together to put on the Peace Arts Festival last June. It was a huge success. We had quite a number of different community groups that participated. I want to say there was over 20 different groups that came together to put on this festival, which was really important for us because this was the idea of the festival, for it to be very grassroots, for our community to come together to show and to highlight everything that we have in this area that includes arts. So that was an amazing amount of different things. So from our events that we had, we hosted again a number of events. We had events that we held all through KPAC. We had events that were held over in the art gallery and out in the parking lot in front of the art gallery there. We even had events that went as far north out to Rolla and different various artists that hosted tours through their studios in their homes. So it kind of encompassed the whole kind of region here, which was really cool. So the festival started on a Thursday and ran straight through until the Sunday. And like I said, we had a whole number of different events that took part. So lots of visual arts, lots of music, lots of pottery. The Potters did a really cool event where they did a raku kiln, built a raku kiln out in the art gallery parking lot and did live firings, which is something really cool and unique that we've never seen here. So again, we're pretty grateful for all of the events and the people that participated in the event. So this is kind of our schedule that we had going for the whole weekend. So as you can see, there was a number of events that took place over the entire weekend. Emma, do you want to talk about any of the events you were participated in?
Yeah, so we had like a wide range every day. There was like at least...
Sorry, not to interrupt. Can you just move the mic in the middle? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
We had a lot of different styles of art every day. There was a lot of different drop-in events. There were some ticketed events, so it was accessible to like every point of the community. There was always something that somebody could do each day. Our June 8th event list actually spans over, there's 2 photos. There was so many events on that day. Like, it was just a packed schedule the whole time, and it was pretty sweet. Everyone is looking forward to, like, returning, too, which is really excellent. So hopefully this year we have an even larger option.
Yeah, the one thing that we realized last year in our planning is that we had also planned this event at the same time that the Chetwynd chainsaw carving was happening in Chetwynd. So that was unfortunate. However, this year, going forward, we have made sure that we are totally opposite weekends, which is great because we did hear some folks that wanted to be part of our festival, but then we're over in Chetwynd. So we really hope that now that we won't be on the same weekend as them for this coming year, that hopefully we get some of those folks and some more people from the region. Because again, the kind of audience that we had was mostly localized around here, local folks from the area, but I think this is a huge opportunity for us to kind of have that inbound tourism from, all of the different communities around. So that's kind of what our goal is this year, is trying to reach out to more of those other communities and get people to come down and spend the weekend here with us, and because we have so much stuff planned again for this upcoming year. So these are just some of the photos and things of our awesome events. The writers group did a really cool event that was at the library there. They had probably, I want to say, about 30 folks in the audience that were there to participate in that. At KPAC, we had Saltwater Hank come and do a concert. That was kind of our opening for the evening, on the Thursday evening. The singer-songwriters group, we utilized space over at the senior center. So we had lots of folks that were there. Our Kiwanis community band, they came out and did a show for us on the Saturday afternoon of the festival. Again, just some more photos of the Saltwater Hank. Donna Kane, who is a writer in our community, she hosted a really neat writing workshop at her home. So the unique thing about the festival, again, was that we utilized so many different venues and tried to make it personal for people. So some of the artists that participated actually opened up their homes and allowed folks to come into their homes and then did workshops in their homes, like Donna did there out at her property, which was really cool. That was probably one of my favorite events I went to, because I'm not a writer, but it was really cool how she you got to experience what that was like. So really enjoyed that. So in the end, we really want to give a big thank you to the City of Dawson Creek for believing in our first Peace Arts Festival and helping us to make it such a huge success. As Emma said, we have already started planning for the 2025 festival. It'll take place over the June 5th to 8th, their weekend in June. I guess it's 2025. It's hard to say that already. It's around the corner. But yes, so planning is underway. We have lots of exciting partnerships that are coming up for this new year. We've got lots of exciting ideas. And like Emma said, lots of folks want to come back. All of the groups that participated last year are really looking forward to participating again. One of the things that we are looking for this year is, because we're into year 2 of our festival, there's a number of grants and other sources of funding that we'll be going for this year. So most of that funding opens up in January or in the new year. So we'll be trying to take advantage of all of those grants and continue to grow the festival. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Emma, anything else you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm just excited. I think it was a really fun first year. We had actually really, really good turnout for a first year. I was impressed. And I've heard a lot of people in the community already even talking about what's coming for June. So I'm just excited to get going.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you, ladies, both very much for, one, coming in, but also, two, for being a big part in the success of this. And I went to one of the meetings, and I think there was about 20 people there that were helping organize it. So it was just amazing to see the community effort in this, and then also to see all the different community of venues. And when I say community, I mean the region, not just Dawson Creek. But yeah, so just a good job to everybody, and thank you. So, Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you both for coming to see us, and we appreciate the report and the work you guys put into putting this on. I also managed to make it to a few events, not as many as I would have liked to. You never can, but I thought it was very well received, and I know I think it's important to not just the arts community, but people we're trying to attract to live here to know that there is a robust arts community that we're encouraging and cultivating. So appreciate that. You mentioned my first question was going to be to ensure that the event had gone off as intended to the extent where you were eligible for second year grants, because I know that was a big challenge to revitalizing it. Is coming out of COVID, everything kind of fell off a cliff. So
Yeah.
but that's
We're pretty excited.
wonderful. Second thing, with plans for next year, I know this year, for whatever reason, the Dawson Creek Music Festival was discontinued by the organizer. So, I mean, I'm not, to put the bug in your ear, there might be an opportunity there to do something, not necessarily that thing, but because I do think there's a public appetite for that, and it would dovetail well with the dates and times and stuff like that. So just a thought, and if you want to talk more, I'm happy to. But thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Anybody else? Councillor Parslow?
Johanna, do you have any financial information? Did you make a profit? Do you have something in reserve for next year?
Well, we kind of broke even with everything. The biggest thing that the city's contribution did was allow us to invest in some signage, which was pretty important to have some recognition of our sponsorship, of all the folks that had sponsored through that event, as well as get some signage that we can use each year. We were able to cover all of the costs, so we made it cost neutral. So any group that participated, if they needed funding to get their activity off the ground, we made sure that we were able to provide that funding. So all of the groups that participated, it was cost neutral for them, so they didn't have to invest in that. So we did end pretty much on a zero note because we made sure then any money that was left over to distribute it to all of the folks that were participated and the groups that participated. So going into this year, we are starting again at the zero mark. But again, like I said, I've re-looked at what we can apply for this coming year, and there's quite a number of grants. I also think, again, reaching out to our local community in sponsorship and different types of partnerships for the events, I think will be a big win for us this year as well.
So one last question. Do you have any data on attendance per event?
Yeah, we do.
Some events recorded statistics. We couldn't personally be at every event. We were mostly just at the KPAC stuff. There was just so many things going on. So for the KPAC events, we have stats for sure, but up to the rest, only a couple people recorded.
Yeah. So, for instance, at the Saltwater Hank show, we had about how many?
I think there was about 64 people in attendance at that show.
Yeah, and then I went out to the Rolla dance that they had there, and they probably had about 80 folks that attended that. Like I said, at the writers group at the library that I attended, there was about 30 folks that were participated in that. The one at Donna's, there's only about 10 of us that were there. So again, each event kind of did vary. We did try to have a wrap-up meeting at the end with all of our folks to try to gather more data from what they had seen at all of their events, because again, like I said, there was so much happening. But it did seem like they were all fairly well attended. There was not any events that didn't have some folks that were there, so it was great.
Nice. Thanks, Councillor Barslow. Councillor Apollonial?
Well, Johanna, and of course Emma, just a shout of thank you. Thank you very much for reaching out for our community, especially. I think we did the dance at the GDI or Players 8, and it was well attended. Of course, Councillor Barslow was there, and we invited him to dance, but he didn't go. And of course, thank you very much, Emma, for our first concert held at the Unchaga. Thank you very much, and looking forward for more collaboration with you guys. Just reach out. We will try our best or do our best to
For
be
sure.
participative. And it's really a good cultural exchange, actually.
Yeah.
And we're so happy we're there. So thank
Good.
you.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonial. Anything else? No? Well, thank you, ladies, very much, and we look forward to it next year. And it was a great event, so thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to come back as we know more about this upcoming year and share all of the information we have with as our planning.
Yeah, that would be
continues.
great.
All right,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the day. Okay. All right. Our next delegation's not here, so I'm just going to vary the agenda. 2.2 and 2.3. I'm going to vary the agenda. So next will be 2024 strategic priority chart. So 3.1 and 3.2. Just updates. 3.3. There's a report if somebody would like to. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 24-128 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding 2024 Strategic Priorities Action Plan Quarter 3, which provides Council with an update on the staff action plan for Quarter 3 in 2024, be received for information.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald? Any discussion? I guess I should call that to vote first. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. I only got 6 in there.
Yeah.
Can I recall that, Janice? Okay, I will recall the vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Any discussion on the strategic priority?
Sure.
Oh, Councillor Earl, did you have something?
No,
Okay.
I'll try to go first.
Okay, Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, whilst it may seem quite small, it's surprising to me how many people have commented on the vacant lots and how they've had trees planted and seem to appreciate that. I certainly appreciate the brevity yet the comprehensiveness of this report as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Anybody else? Councillor Earl?
Yes, to Councillor Parslow's point, I appreciate the quarterly updates. It's, it's very easy with the rigors of the day-to-day operations for this kind of stuff to slide onto the back burner out of just, things, more pressing concerns, I guess, or more immediate concerns anyway. So being able to revisit this and see the incremental progress is very much appreciated. And I know, as Councillor Parslow said, the report itself is brief, but it represents a great deal of work. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. I had a few comments too. I just wanted to, it was nice to go through this report and see everything, but there's, just so many good things, right? Like I looked at like the providing excellent guest service, like that program. It's just totally about what it says, right? About guest service, about the teamwork, and then you get to like the long-term awards, and it's pretty amazing to go through that and see how long some of the team have been at the city and come to work every day, and they're smiling and they're happy and they're, committed to the guest service, really. Just hats off. And then you get down to like the downtown, I know we have maybe, there's lots of talk about downtown, but it's like those things like cleaning up those lots and repaving the corners and the streets and making them more accessible. Like the amount of positive feedback we've heard since that, it's unbelievable. And just to see with all the pressures that we deal with every day that the strategic priorities are still at the main focus is just amazing. And then just the relationship one as well, right? You look at all those areas in there and the relationships to the community, like it's not just us on this end either, Kevin, it's your whole team too. So everybody is open on your end to, as much as we have an open door, your door is just as open. And that's appreciative because it doesn't need to be on all levels, but it's great to see that your whole team is following that same strategic priority. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you and everybody, really. It's just great to see. So thank you. You're welcome. Councillor Parslow?
Well, the Mayor said what he said. I'd like to amplify that a little bit. Bylaw does a very difficult job, and some of our staff engage with some potentially very awkward situations. And I should have mentioned this to you, Kevin, but I'm pleased to mention it to everybody that I've had two people come to me totally overwhelmed by the empathy, the consideration, their style of work from bylaws, and I'd forget his title, but Bill Downber. So it pleases me that what you said. It's good to hear. It is bylaw. They don't engage sometimes in things that people are pleased about, but how they do it can make a world of difference, and they're doing a good job.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Any other comments? No. All right. Is there anything that you want to add, Kevin, or?
So through your worship, just thank you, really, and definitely have some great staff in bylaw, and it is a tough job, and they do an amazing job there. So thank you for that, and I'll certainly pass that along. And I think you really hit the nail on the head by saying, it's the incremental changes that we're making across the community. Sometimes it feels like there's more that we could get done and stuff, but when you look back and see that, if we're making some logical progress on some of these items, and it's all starts to add up, and we're seeing some of that. And so I'm glad some of it is being recognized, because we certainly feel like we're making some headway. The strategic priority chart, there's a lot on there, and a lot of it feels like sometimes we sit down and we go, it's all in progress. Sometimes there's not as much complete as we'd like, but I think, we're making some headway, so it's good. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, next item is 4 late items. I don't think there's any late items. No. Next, 5 new councillor business. 5.1, we have memo from Councillor Apollonio regarding City of Dawson Creek Bridges and Park for truth, reconciliation, rich heritage, and multiculturalism. Councillor Apollonio? Oh, just press it once and then I'll turn it on and then.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah. So I'm just only leaving this again, this proposal, and of course seconded by the proposal of Councillor McDonald's last council meeting regarding truth and reconciliation. Of course, I just expanded it to cultural exchange because I think I proposed this last December 2020, when we are new, 2022, when we are new that when we started doing our exchange with First Nation communities like Doig River, and of course it didn't happen because the bridge at 8th Street was under the Ministry of Transportation or Highways, so it's not feasible. So I just supported Councillor McDonald's proposal last council meeting, and I thought of the bridge instead of our bridge that owned by the city, like the one at 15th Street, and of course at 10th Street near the library. And I saw another bridge which is near the Nabican Center, which is, I think, 102nd Avenue, corner 17th Street. So if that's okay. And my proposed motion is that council authorize staff to engage with respective, sorry, I don't have my glasses, including but not limited to neighboring First Nations, the Nawikan Friendship Center, Northern Lights College, and the Art Gallery to discuss a multicultural project involving artwork of city-owned bridges and parks. Further, that a report be brought back to council for consideration detailing the proposed projects, locations, artwork, and associated costs.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald, any discussion? Did you have more you wanted to add to?
Yeah, I just only want to, especially after the election, just multicultural exchange. I know what's going on in the city. Like, for example, this comments about the community. So at least if we have this kind of First Nation and, of course, multicultural exchange, it will open more dialogue or more exchange of ideas. And of course, it also will promote like art to be alive again in the community, and of course, getting more collaboration from the community.
Thank you, Councillor Apollonio. Any other discussion? Councillor Parslow.
Well, first of all, I always appreciate ideas that are brought forward to the table by councillors. I'm aware of the presentation at the previous meeting concerning a side road crossing. I'm beginning to think, though, we better get a handle on all this stuff and whether we should really talk about these recognitions, which are very important to us, and I don't wish to detract in any way from the spirit behind this. But there are questions that come to my mind, and since a discussion with a colleague at this table and this item on the agenda, that I'm very, very, very keen on this truth, reconciliation, and acknowledge our multiculturalism, absolutely. But we better get a handle on it. Are we taking, who owns the art is stated in the material that Councillor Apollonio brought forward, but who maintains it? Is this, who's driving this? I remember asking a First Nations leader, what does truth and reconciliation mean to you? Does it mean, for instance, that we promote displays of your art, your materials? We host a powwow or what? And she said the most important thing is being at the table and being listened to. And I've seen in other communities some very tasteful work done. I'm thinking when I say this about Grand Prairie, but who's driving it? Who's going to maintain? What is our big picture? You know. And I'm very uncomfortable talking about this because I have a great deal of respect for the proponents. But are we going to have what's the limits? I guess we're going to have every crossing or every bridge, and we're decorated some way. And who do we say yes to, and who do we say no to? What would be the criteria? And so I think I don't want to burst anyone's balloon here, but my sense is telling me we should reflect on this sort of thing and develop a bit of a policy and really come to grips with who's driving this. It's much better if it comes from a community group, perhaps, or the Treaty 8 representatives or whatever. So my sense is that we refer back to for policy on this.
Okay.
So I'm going to move that we defer this matter and seek a policy on the cultural recognition within our community, how that is expressed. Thank you.
Do I have a second on that? Councillor Sednick? I know, Councillor Earl, did you want to speak to the original?
I'm just, sorry.
I guess I should, because we have a second on the deferral, this would mean that we can have discussion on deferring it. Okay, so any discussion on deferring it? Councillor Earl? Oh, sorry. Councillor Earl?
Yeah, it's very similar to the vein of discussion we had at the last meeting following Councillor McDonald's initial recommendation or initial motion that, we're not in any urgency to get this done now that there's snow on the ground. So we have some time to figure out a policy that will hopefully guide future council's decision-making on this and speak to the concerns expressed by Councillor Parslow. So I have no issue with that. I think, just in general, never mind. This is just about the deferral.
Just about
okay,
deferral.
sorry, I'll reserve any further comments for another time.
Okay. Any other discussion on deferring? No? Okay, I'm going to call the motion to vote on deferring. Vote is closed. It's carried. Are there any other new councillor business?
I just had one final button on that with
Yeah.
respect to, because in the minutes, and my memory was a bit foggy because 2 weeks seems to pass very quickly now, but we did pass a motion asking staff to bring us back a policy around this, correct?
From Councillor Parslow's deferral and comments, I thought that was the case, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
to
did you
confirm
understand
with
it that way?
Kevin.
Through your worship, it was specific to the crosswalk painting, yes, and to bring back some costs and things on that.
Councillor Parslow?
Okay, just for One of the things that maybe this is true for all of us, I'm not sure. We're all worried about healthcare, and I always reflect back to the comments of the doctor who made a presentation to us in these council chambers about the reputation of our community, the image of our community, and I know that we are all looking forward to the opening of our new hospital, but we do need to continue our work with attracting and retaining professionals to staff the hospital and to provide the best medical options for our citizens. I am pleased that Council has made a good effort and achieved some significant actions. I'm very concerned about childcare, the provision of childcare. And I know that work is being done on this by different groups, including the city. And I would like to get an update on the status of the various projects going on in the community as it relates to daycare. And if we could have a sort of a monthly update of that, because I know that the provision of quality daycare with partners such as Northern Health, School District, and so on is a critical component in helping people who are professionals and not professional people to live and work here. And I do know through Kevin that there's a bit of a meeting on Monday, and I would like to have an oral report. I don't need a written report. I would like that we get an oral report on the status of it and be kept up to date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Something like Kevin could just do through his operational updates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So through your worship, I believe there's a childcare task force meeting Monday. I think it's the 28th. It's next week.
Yeah.
That we'll have staff at, which will give us an update of what's happening in the community. We've also have been working on a potential RFP that would go out regarding seeking partnership with a provider. But we're waiting until we get some more updates and just know exactly what's going on in the community before we move forward. So certainly can bring that update back to council.
Thank you. And then just to your comment on the retention and recruitment, it wasn't on my mayor's updates. It'll be on the next one, but there was a healthcare one that was came in. We attended it after the agenda was released, so it was amazing to see the amount of healthcare professionals that were out there, and the retention and recruitment that's going on in that field is definitely helping, and they're seeing some wins. So, yeah. So,
just one point.
Go ahead.
This is related to this. I do know that the proposal put forward to council involving the application for a fund just to build a daycare. With the provincial election over, I'm just flagging, I'm worried about the status of that and what will be the likelihood of that. And if we need to monitor that, because then if the grant gets cut or removed, what is the response going to be of this city? Where are we going to get the funds from to build that daycare that was planned through that grant, if that grant disappears?
Yeah.
So I'm just flagging a concern that you're all aware of because I've been persuaded over the last year. Yeah, we have to get involved, and we have got involved, and I support it 110%. And I'm just worried about the daycare piece.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Is that a provincial grant or was it not federal? It was provincial, that one? Yeah. Yep. All right, any other new councillor business? Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Just wanted to make note that 2 weeks ago I was able to attend Soto First Nations Healing the Land Conference at the First Nation in their wonderful new multicultural center that they had built. I want to congratulate them. They ran an amazing conference for their inaugural year. It was very well attended. Learned a lot about the Caribou and the Twin Sisters nursery. Just was a wonderful event. So I just wanted to congratulate them on a great event, and always want to put up our regional neighbors when they have success. And I think they really knocked it out of the park. And then speaking of knocking it out of the park, I was able to attend this year's Ducks Unlimited fundraiser this weekend. It was a great event. I think there was almost 300 people in the room. Their live auction alone raised over $77,000, which they were saying was a record-setting event for all of Canada, that a live auction raised that much in our little community. And I think just every year it shows the generosity and the amazing part of this community, that we come together and we support and we give, and just makes me very proud to be part of Dawson Creek. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. And thanks for attending Soto's event and your commitment to that. So thank you. Welcome. Councillor Apollonio.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Your Worship. Just say a thank you from the Kalipi, the Filipino-Canadian community, for those who attended our just concluded 2024 Fall Olympics. Thank you very much, everyone. You made the people happy with your presence. They are so happy that the city came, and of course with Mayor Darcy, and of course the rest of the councils. Thank you, and of course the MLAs. Thank you, and yeah, till next spring.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Any other new councillor business? No? All right, thank you. Next, adoption of minutes, 6.1 minutes of the regular meeting of council held on October 1st, 2024 for adoption. Councillor McDonald, second Councillor Apollonio. I'll call that to vote. We need one more vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Any business arising? No. All right. Next, correspondence 8.1. We have email from Tanya Oliver, Chief Executive Officer, Grand Prairie and District Chamber of Commerce, received on September 6, 2024, regarding sponsorship opportunities for Growing the North Conference, February 18th to the 20th, 2025. Councillor Parslow.
I'm speaking with don't have an important fact in front of me, but we did sponsor last time. And what was the amount of the sponsorship?
I think it was 2,500.
Yeah, through your worship, 2,500 last time.
Okay, I move that we support this through a match, as an equivalent sponsorship.
I have a second. Councillor McDonald, discussion.
Well, in the spirit that my colleague, Councillor McDonald, said about the SOTO, we need to continue to build relationships. And I'm sure when we have something, we'll have some partners from Grand Prairie attend things as well. So it's part of the synergy that we're trying to be a core part of in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Councillor McDonald?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to staff, last year we partnered running the table with the Chamber of Commerce. I think as part of the motion, maybe we want to say that we want to reach out to the Chamber to have that partnership again, or do you believe city staff should be there to run the table this year?
I think last year we partnered, but the Chamber of Commerce represented at the
city.
At the city, so.
So through your worship, I don't know if I can answer that just yet without conferring with staff. So if if council, as part of that, would like to have some representation there, then I think I'd need to go back and see if, we've got some newly hired tourism staff. Like, we'd have to look and see whether it's best suited for us or a partnership or what that would look like. And we could come back to council and let you know, but we can find one way to make that work.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Donald. Thanks, Kevin. Councillor. I did have some discussion on this. So I know last year there was a bit of challenges organizing it as well. So I know our conference budget is pretty full this year. So I'm kind of, I think the direction should be if we can find somebody to partner with, or we can have somebody run a booth. But I think more importantly, in building that relationship is us being there. So if there's a couple of us that can attend, I see more value in it than, unless we can do the table and do it properly. But I don't know, we'd have to look back at it, and I don't know if we got an update from the Chamber of Commerce on the success of it. I know there was some challenges with it, and there was some last minute things. So I don't know, how that went, but Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. We did have councils attend last year, council members attend last year though, right?
Yeah.
As well? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I know we had this discussion last year, whether it's, to spend the 2,500 or spend the money and just attend, so I don't know, the motion is just to spend the 2,500, but I don't know if we need to admit, have a little bit more discussion about what that looks like than just spending $2,500 with not giving direction to the team at the city, is my thoughts. So I don't know if we want to make an amendment, or Councillor Parslow?
Well, my impression from people who went that it was quite a well-organized function. We did it in partnership with the Chamber. Maybe I didn't explicitly state it, but I was thinking, let's do the same thing again. So if we say staff we want to do it, then they'll figure out the best way. But I must say, implicit in what I moved was that we replicate what we did last time, which was a partnership with the Chamber.
Yeah. So I guess do we need to change motion, or is that clarity enough? We can reach out to the Chamber and see if they're interested in.
Yeah, through your worship, I think what I'm hearing is council wants some form of a display or presence, because with that sponsorship comes, you get a booth and all that, so you want that. I think we'll, like I said, we can determine how we can accomplish that, whether that's through a partnership. We'll check that first, whether we can do it internally or whatever. I think if we have some issues around that, then we'll come back to council and say, here's a challenge. But
Yeah.
I think we're clear on what you want to do. I think that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, perfect.
And just to be clear on the funding of it. So last year that came out of ECDev
Yes.
budget.
Oh, okay.
Just that's where we would pull it again, assuming it's
Seems
not really
logical, yeah.
although they're asking for a sponsorship, this isn't a typical sponsorship. This really is an ECDev kind of exercise. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
Any other discussion? No? All right, I will call this motion. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 8.2, letter from Ambrose Young, Registrar of Young Parliament of BC Alumni Association, received on September 23rd, 2024, regarding the 96th BC Youth Parliament. Councillor Parslow?
I'm not making a motion here. We've got this letter. I believe we should sponsor a South Peace secondary student. We've worked with the secondary school. Mm-hmm. We were delighted to have them here. we want them to, our youth to have some civic engagement. But how we did that did we sponsor this last year? If not, should we? I think it seems to me, Mayor, that this aligns with so much of what you've been doing.
Yeah.
That working with the Vice Principal, Sean Cowie, maybe there could be but the thing that's related to this is, and maybe I've missed this, who pays for the transportation cost?
Well,
Accommodation. The registration is one thing, but
yeah.
if we're going to enable this to happen.
Okay. Do we know how much room's left in our grant budget offhand?
Yeah, so through your worship, we just looked at that this morning. We have about $5,000 remaining, just over 5,000 remaining in the grant. So,
Okay.
yeah, and it does say in the letter that obviously there's a $455 registration fee, and then it does say thanks to private donations and fundraising, a portion of the cost of transportation and accommodation is covered. Now, that's a little unclear of what portion that is, but it does seem that there's some assistance there.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're, do you mind, are you okay if I make a
I'd
motion?
like to move that we sponsor one student from, what's the school called now? From the Dawson Creek Secondary School, to take part in the Youth Parliament, the 96th Parliament.
Can I just make a friendly amendment to that? Can we send a request out to the South Peace Student Council and the Central Middle School Student Council, because there's two of them, and just see if there's any, if you're okay with that we send it out to both those student councils and see if there's somebody that would.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, okay.
So through your worship, it does say, is it between you need to be 16?
Oh, okay, then never mind that. So,
16 to 21.
To
okay.
be eligible, you need 16,
Okay,
minimum 16
so we'll just
to
leave it with
21.
I think it's the South
Yeah.
Peace Student Council is the name, so.
And just for clarity, when you say sponsor, are we talking just the 455, or is there some additional, up to a certain amount, just so we know?
Well, certainly the registration fee, and be prepared to support accommodation and travel up to inclusive of the fee of, so let's say $1,500.
I have a second? Yeah. Councillor McDonald? Discussion, Councillor Parslow?
Well, the mayor's done a lot of work building relationships with the high school, and I think civic education is sadly lacking in our province and in our community, and I think it's the young people of this town deserve to have the opportunity of seeing how government works and how parliamentarians are supposed to work. And maybe they will become our future leaders. And we were all, I think, impressed with the student council we met, and some wonderful people. And I think this is just part of our showing our commitment to young people and supporting the mayor in his work. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question through you to staff. What is the remaining in the grant budget for the year?
It was just 5,000. I just asked.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking as
So yeah,
Charlie was
through your
talking.
worship,
$5,000.
if this passes, we'll be down to about 3,700
okay.
remaining.
My apologies for being redundant. I was reading something and I got distracted.
Basically, he's dating over Saturday night.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Thank you. Apologies.
Thanks, Councillor.
Through your worship, the deadline for application is November 1st as well, so there's a bit of a tight timeline,
Okay.
just so they're aware.
Okay, I can reach out to Vice Principal Cowie, and they have a meeting every Tuesday. They meet, so I was there last week or the week before, but I can reach out. So, okay, thank you, Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to add, if in case is the South Peace also doing sponsorship on this one, or just the city?
Is what, sorry?
Is the school also doing sponsorship for this one, or just the city? At least just to split the cost.
I'm not sure if the school is. The motion is just for us to sponsor up to $1,500. So
Okay.
anything more than that, there, it sounds like there's some other
Okay.
initiatives, so. Okay, any other discussion? No, okay, I just wanted to, I definitely, you kind of read my mind a little bit on the motion, Councillor Parslow, so thank you. And also thank you for your commitment to helping with that student council and getting it going. So it's definitely not just something that, I'm passionate about it, but it's a council as a whole, so thank you very much. So, yeah, any other thing? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next is reports. 9.1, we have report number 24-122 from the corporate officer regarding 2025 Business Façade Improvement Program. Councillor Parslow.
Oh, no, sorry.
Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-122 from the corporate officer regarding 2025 Business Facade Improvement Program be received. Further, the council supports the application to Northern Development Initiative Trust from the City of Dawson Creek for the grant of up to $20,000 for the 2025 Business Facade Improvement Program. Further, the council approves the 2025 Business Facade Improvement Guidelines attached to this report.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick. Discussion, Councillor Earl?
I guess one concern about this is I appreciate the work that's gone into refining this process to make it as responsive as possible to the public's needs. One question, however, under the evaluation and selection process, item number 5, requires projects that are using local contractors and services are going to be prioritized. Now, are we as a city holding local businesses to a standard that we ourselves don't meet in our own procurement policies and processes? And there's very good reason we don't do that, because the standard will become the case throughout the region, and there's a lot more work that goes on outside city limits than in city limits. So that could, over time, undermine our local contractors' ability to bid competitively on work outside the city. But I guess that's my concern. We all love to support local, but I worry we're setting a precedent that we are going to come to regret, because, people will expect us to apply the same standard to ourselves, which we don't necessarily, as much as we might personally want to.
So, through your worship, I'm not sure if this is a new criteria, if anything has changed in that regard, but if council has a concern around that, it's something that we can certainly change out of the criteria. You are correct that, unfortunately, we don't have that same ability due to trade laws and tendering laws and all those aspects, and honestly, it can hinder local folks when they go to town. So, this particular, just looking at it, it only comes into effect if we're oversubscribed. Do they start to use that as criteria to rank it? But again, if council is concerned about that, we can,
I think,
certainly remove that.
a couple things on this. I think one, it's an NDIT grant that the city administers and offers through the city. So last year we were oversubscribed. We had almost double the applications come in, and so we had to go through criteria and we had to pick, and that one wasn't even on the list. It was all the other ones that, it was very clear that everybody, I think we had 16 to 20 applications last year, and we only could approve 8. So we had to go through it, and there's 3 of us that sit on that committee and go through it, and that wasn't even a concern from anybody that submitted. It was the other ones that came into consideration. So,
Okay.
yeah, and I don't know if NDIT has some say in how this works, because it is a program through them. I don't know enough about that to comment without getting more information.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, my concern is we as a city are holding the business community to a standard that we ourselves don't meet. So the optics of that might be problematic. But.
Yeah, I get that too, I think. But I think, like, I don't know, Kevin, I don't know if you have the same understanding. We just administer this grant. It's not funding that comes from the city. It's through the NDIT trust that this funds. It's the same amount that's allocated in every municipality in their region. So yeah, I don't know, besides us administering it and putting some criteria in to help us administer it.
Yeah, through your worship, you're correct. I think before we'd want to change any criteria, we would have to confirm with NDIT if it was acceptable.
Yeah, okay. So is there a desire to change that, or is everybody? No? Okay, I'm going to call the motion to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next, 9.2, we have report number 24-123 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2024 Consumer Price Index Review. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move the report number 24-123 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2024 Consumer Price Index Review be received. Further, that all contracts, agreements, and other fees be increased by 8.59% to align with the 4-year British Columbia CPI rate at the end of the 4-year cycle. Further, that the annual 2% CPI be added effective January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. I have a second. Councillor Sudnick, discussion. Councillor Parslow.
I want to make sure I understand this one. First of all, I really do appreciate the style that alternative bylaws are written out, just to give a slot for percentages. So basically, the fees and stuff have been adjusted by 2% already in that period of time, and this is an additional adjustment of 8.59, followed with the continuation of the 2% from January 2025 to December 2028. Correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Parslow, that is correct. And then what would happen at the end of that 4-year cycle, then in 2028,
Be another review.
There would be another review, and you would look at the 4-year variance of essentially the 8% we've charged to 2 and 2 compared to actually what it was.
Right. Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I guess maybe a bit of historical context might be in order for members of the public who are watching. In my first term on council, when we were reviewing the financials, we were looking at an instance where some fees hadn't been updated in upwards of 7, 8, 9 years at all, and they'd been flat, which means the public subsidy for those services versus the fees had gone up incrementally every year. And there was, now that we were facing a situation where we had to increase fees in order to right the ship, it was a fairly dramatic sticker shock for the residents. So part of putting this policy in place was to ensure that incrementally year over year, those fees weren't, they were keeping up to minimize the loss of ground and the increase in subsidy that would occur, but also so that the price increase would be more gradual, which is a lot easier on many people's budgets. Obviously, at the time, we didn't anticipate generational inflation rate that kind of undermined that effort, and I guess that's what accounts for the 8.59 increase. In normal times, ideally, this increase would be much more modest, we're all aware of the toll that inflation's taken on people's pocketbooks over the last couple of years, and it's not something we do lightly, but it is in an effort to make sure we're paying for what we use. So, but thank you, staff, for the report, and
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Thanks for the history. Appreciate it.
I'm the old man here now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting to read through. It's very detailed. I think it was 31 pages of every line item broke out, so it was good to read through. I just, does this take into consideration like contracts and leases as well, or is that something different? So like say leases on our facilities, or is this just the fees? Like,
So through your worship, those contracts usually have language that references the current city CPI policy. That's not always consistent. Some reference the 2, 2, and 2, but we would have to go through and look at renewal dates and see. But the policy is for all contracts, agreement, or other fees.
yeah, okay. Does this trigger anything that would be more of an expense to the city on the other side of this? Like, some of this is revenue related, right? But is there any contracts on the other side, or does it?
Sorry, through your worship, the policy is written such that, and sorry, I should have had that open, but that it relates to all items payable to the city.
Okay.
So there's no capture on the impact to expenses to the city.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other discussion? Councillor Parslow?
I think with all these things, I support the recommendation 100%. How we communicate this will be important. And I couldn't help but smile when Councillor Earl was sharing the history of it, because he was so darn right. It was, I think we need to be very, very explicit about the rationale behind this, because, any change, you'll get a reaction, right? As people go off to their winter holidays, coming back with the notion of a 5-cent increase in their swimming pool fees is a disaster, let alone a 8.59%. But, I think it's important related to this, because we're talking about a lot of our recreation facilities. I'm just suggesting that it would be possibly a good idea just to show how this city is engaged in a very high level of preventative maintenance. And we now have a memorial arena with a new slab and a lot of work done. We have a new swimming pool that probably won't need attention for quite a few years. But all of that's cost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I think, this fee is just part of it, but people need to know that the cost of providing access to a top-notch swimming pool and ice skating arena is a big capital outlay, and the city spent millions of dollars.
Yeah.
In addition, so this is just a small increase relative to that, and it's just supporting operational costs.
Yeah.
Capital costs have been eaten by the rest of the revenue. Right?
Yeah, I'll let Melissa speak to this, but I don't think this fees and charges affects recreation, because we just did that a couple months ago. So I think those have already been altered.
So therefore, this is covering what? So my mistake.
All the other fees and services. So all the recreation, we've already dealt with that. I believe it was a couple months ago, but I'll let Melissa speak to it.
So through your worship, yes, for clarification, the community services fees and charges bylaw was brought to council on March 25th, 2024, and they passed a schedule that already had the fees up to 2028. And so the Schedule H, which is the fees, wasn't included because it's not a relevant schedule. And maybe we could have made that clearer in the motion, but it is the community services fees will remain as presented and approved on that March 25th, or in that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Well, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. I'm just going to call a short break here. Regular council meeting for Monday, October 21st, 2024, back to order. So our next order of business was 9.3. We have report number 24-125 from the Financial Service Manager regarding the 2024 tax sale results. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd love to move the recommendation that report number 24-125 from the Financial Services Manager regarding the 2024 tax sale results be received for information.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion on receiving for information? No, I'll call this motion to vote. Oh, no. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Earl. Missing one, somebody to vote?
Grace asleep.
Sorry, the left-hand side of the table here is sleeping.
The vote is closed and it's carried. I appreciate you apologizing for everybody. It's not holding that on you.
That way.
Yeah, okay. Next, 9.4, we have report number 24-127 from the Public Works Manager regarding RFQ 2024-34, supply and delivery of road salt. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that report number 24-127 from the Public Works Manager regarding RFQ 2024-34, supply and delivery of road salt be received. Further, the Council award RFQ 2024-34, supply and delivery of road salt to NSC Minerals Limited for the amount of $336,521.20, including all applicable taxes, for a 3-year contract term beginning on November 1st, 2024, and ending on October 31st, 2027, with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio. Any discussion? Councillor Parslow.
Well, I need some insights here. Whilst I'm supporting the recommendation, I'm just floored by the variance in quotes. I mean, I have no experience in how the private sector operates, so I need some education here. So they all get the same specs. There's a fair bid. Why is there such... What would be some of the factors that would cause such a big variance? Is one the location of the supply? What would be the variables?
So through Your Worship, you're correct, quite a variance. NSC Minerals, I believe, they may supply these other companies with the minerals, and then they are hauling. There's some different arrangements. There's only so many mines that mine salt. So I'm not 100% sure, but that was a discussion we had internally. Is that may be some of the cases. So we've used NSC a number of times over the past. Yeah, it's all good from our perspective.
So they may supply, and then the recipient that's bid here more than doubles the price.
Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other variables?
Well, if they are different sources, it could be simply location, trucking costs, things like that as well. But it is significant.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess one or two. Number one, there's usually in the implications under the financial piece, there's a note that it was within budget or over budget. And my memory on this is foggy, but I do believe this is within budget. I'm just wondering this is something, obviously, we don't have a choice in whether or not we purchase, so it's kind of a moot. But just for my own curiosity, what is the cost escalation or inflation for this 3-year term versus the previous 3-year term? And are we budgeting accordingly to accommodate or account for that, I guess?
So through your worship, I will have to get that for you. I don't have it right this moment, but I can probably get it before the end of the meeting and find out what that escalation
Yeah,
is.
just I know with some of the costs, we've insurance and other staples or necessities that aren't really within our ability to say no to.
Yeah.
I've been somewhat alarmed by the rate of increase, and I want to know if this is because this looks like something where we might have lucked out with the bid and be comparable to what it previously was, but I don't quite remember.
Yeah, so through your worship, I suspect there's definitely been some escalation, but it's just at what rate.
Yeah.
And as you see the weather out there today, you're right, we don't have a lot of choice. We're using it on the weekend, but I'll get that information for you before the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? Okay, thank you. I did have a comment too, just about curious what we spent last year, and so I'll wait till we get that, but I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next, we have 9.5, report number 24-129 from the Communications and Engagement Manager regarding inclusive mural proposal. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-129 from the Communications and Engagement Manager regarding inclusive mural proposal be received. Further, that Council authorize staff to continue collaborating with the Dawson Creek Pride Society on a proposed inclusive art project displayed at the Ken Bork Aquatic Centre at a cost of a maximum $1,500 for operational expenses. Further, that the art piece would become the property of the City of Dawson Creek.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Do I have a second? Councillor Earl, discussion. Councillor Parslow.
We've previously at this meeting passed a motion that was when we were considering the proposal put forward by Councillor Apollonio to defer making a decision about these sort of things until we have a policy on them. And so I can't support this at this time, and would be suggesting, if this is defeated, that we bring this back after we have a guiding policy in place. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Kevin, do you see like the policy that we talked about earlier, this being reflected in that, or do you see this being a separate thing? Is it's art in a facility and...
So through your worship, I mean, it does kind of fall in the same breadth of public art and who initiates it and all that. And so the only thing I would say is that we were directed to connect with the Dawson Creek Pride Society to discuss, the painting maintenance of the crosswalk, but then it included, other looking at other opportunities to be, to where they could represent them locally. So, but if council wants to hold off and wrap that up into the greater policy discussion, then that's fair too.
Yeah, because I know we did direct earlier this year to reach out and meet with the Dawson Creek Pride Society. And I think like this painting and that is proposed forward is not, it's just showing an inclusive community. It's not being inclusive to one organization. It's very open. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Just following this line of reasoning to its logical conclusion, we have an agreement with the art gallery to do some public murals for us. Is that, if we're looking at a comprehensive policy for public art, is that something that we also need to look at pumping the brakes on until we get something back? I mean, once again, we're in winter and we're not likely going to see any new public art displays until next year, so we do have some time to figure out how we want to proceed, but, you know, for consistency's sake.
Yeah, so through your worship, the mural project was a refurbishment of, I believe, of all our existing ones because of just how they deteriorated. So it's a refresh on that. So it's not so much of an addition as it is just, you know, maintaining what we already have. You know, and when you get into the public art piece, you know, you talk about the surveyor at the traffic circle, right? That's public art. We own it. We are now funding it, getting refurbished by the artist, you know. So without policy, we've kind of, you know, gone down this road, but it's becoming maybe more prevalent, or there's more
Involved,
asks around it. And I do believe having some policy to guide council's decisions will be helpful, you know, criteria and who owns what and all those expenses, because incrementally there becomes more costs that come with it theoretically.
Yeah,
so
it's,
things to consider.
Okay. Yeah, that was just a thought I had is as we head down this road, where do we ultimately end up?
Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I'm not, I don't want it to be inferred that I'm against this project.
No.
But in the call for sound governance, we have a policy that we've passed at this meeting that deals with the same genre of activity as the CAO has expressed. And so let's get a policy and then move forward based upon a policy that we've all had some time to reflect on and discuss, and we move forward. There's no harm waiting a month or two.
Okay. So is that something that we could maybe just defer this motion until such time there's a policy in place? Or would you rather it, yeah. Somebody like to make that motion to defer it?
Yes, procedurally, we're not amending a motion, we're just having a deferral motion, so that I would be willing to make that, but I don't want anyone to think I'm against this particular project.
Yeah, no, I wasn't
No, I'm not
insisting that, or
accusing you.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the general public who might be listening into this riveting debate.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second on deferring? Councillor Earl? Any discussion on deferring? Councillor Earl?
So just to be clear, I guess a question through you to staff. In your discussions with the Pride Society with respect to the mural, have they given a potential timeline in which they'd like to see the mural erected?
So through your worship, I would probably ask Melissa to just maybe, she's dealing directly with the society, so probably better for her to answer that.
Welcome, Melissa.
Hey.
Thank you. Through your worship, there was no specific ask for when they would like to see this project be completed, but they did estimate it taking approximately a year to gather the groups that would be involved and to get the art piece completed. So that's something to keep in mind if we wanted to see it coming forward at a certain date on our side, then keep in mind it could be a year before it is finished.
Okay, so we've got some time to sort this out. Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Any other discussion? No? All right, I will call this motion to vote on deferring this. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Next, 9.6, we have report number 24-130 from the Communications and Engagement Manager regarding the Dawson Creek marketing campaign, Start Something. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-130 from the Communications and Engagement Manager regarding Dawson Creek marketing campaign, Start Something, be received for information.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio. Any discussion on this? Did you want to give a bit of a update? Yeah.
Yeah, through your worship, if there's questions or if you want Melissa to just give you a quick run through or rundown on it, because I know it's of interest.
Yeah, I think, I'm fine if Melissa would like to give a quick update, and then we can see if there's any questions, if everybody's okay with that. Yeah? Are you okay with that, Melissa? Yeah. Cool.
All right, so we are getting close to the launch of the marketing campaign that was approved earlier this year. I think when we started this campaign, there were a lot of questions surrounding it, not quite sure where the pieces would fall or what would all be involved with this campaign. So it's grown quite a bit since the last time I spoke to you about that. We selected a proponent in, I think it was probably April-ish and maybe in May. And then we started our kickoff right off the hop. So it was a tight turnaround because I asked the proponent to give us summer materials. I wanted it for the fall. So they ended up sending a team up to Dawson Creek to take photos and video of one of our largest event weekends. So not the exhibition weekend, because we tend to focus on that one a lot. So we went with the show and shine. And on that weekend, we also had the DC Triathlon and a number of other things just happening around the community. It was a very busy weekend. It ended up being great. They spent 3 days up here, and we just kind of immersed them in the Dawson Creek culture. They really enjoyed being here. It was really neat for me to see through their eyes what Dawson Creek looks like to somebody who doesn't live here. They really enjoyed the community feeling. They noted that several times. They like our quirky feel. We definitely are a bit of a quirky little small town for being a city. So we collected all those video and photography assets, and then everybody went into the build phase. So they have quite a large marketing team. They have a design team, then they have a specific ads wing. So they have a media buy specialist that, I'll be honest, I had never really delved in that sort of area yet. I am familiar with small scale ad buying. This is beyond anything I have ever seen. So the ads that we're creating will end up on folks' TVs. We will be positioned in people's living rooms. People will be able to see Dawson Creek and see what it's all about. I know some of you can probably think of times when you've been sitting there watching commercials and you'll see like Visit Washington, and it's like a beautiful, say like a lake scene or something like that. It'll be similar to that. Beyond TV, there will also be clickable ads, targeted ads online. There will be social media. But this campaign has grown in ways that I didn't see it growing, and I'm very excited about it. One benefit to us is, of many, is that all of the assets that are coming from this campaign will be owned by us, and we're able to grow. So I can take the 5 to 10 ads that they've created, and I can continue doing that over the coming years. I can pull more information. I can build it out. It's something that's very beneficial, especially to the communications department. So the launch is coming up soon. It'll be within the next month or so. When that happens, I'll be able to share more information with you all. Any questions specifically around that?
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Melissa, for the update. With respect to the collateral being created by the agency, so that's going to be something you can then customize and build off and use as kind of a springboard into other messaging. So if we wanted to create a package for Northern Health to provide to prospective nurses and doctors using the themes identified in this, that's something we can do in future years or have be part of an ongoing Welcome Wagon initiative.
Absolutely. Through Your Worship, I see this campaign being something that will spark many other avenues. So, for example, we didn't have the Kiwanis trade show this year, unfortunately, and I don't know if that will be returning. However, there are other trade shows that we're discussing, like Grow the North, or Growing the North Conference, sorry. So I foresee taking these assets and building out, say, like a trade show booth and having all of our marketing speak to that, and then doing a specific healthcare section that I've chatted with the mayor a number of times about creating materials that specifically sell to that sector. That's something I've been leveraging through this campaign build too, is pulling their ideas and really utilizing that large marketing team and seeing what other avenues I can apply this to. And I think that the possibilities are endless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Exciting. Thank you, Melissa. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to this. So, and then I think dates, like when does it start to?
So I believe in my report, I was hoping for end of October. It's looking more like mid-November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Big thanks.
So through your worship, but just before we start bylaws, just back to Councillor Earl's question on the previous report on road salt.
Oh, yeah.
And the escalation. So my wonderful staff dug some stuff up for me. So the first year, so for 2025, it's a 5% increase from the previous contract. And then it's 3% for 26 and 3% for 27.
Okay.
So it's not,
So 5%
not
less next year.
unexpected, and actually maybe, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think I needed to call the vote still on the last one, so that's all right. I will call that to vote. Unless there was any other dialogue on receiving for information? No? Okay. Vote is closed and it's carried. Just before we get to the next order of business, I just wanted to mention 2.2. We varied the agenda. Just Alan Tonn from South Peace Search and Rescue. They were supposed to be in attendance for a presentation and a request. They are actually out dealing with something in the piece right now and search and rescue. So they'll attend at a later time, and we wish them the best and the most today. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. So. And then next on the agenda is 10 bylaws, 10.1, 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw 4590, 2024 for consideration of adoption. I don't think there's a recommendation. Councillor Kempf, second. Councillor Apollonio. I will call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. One opposed. Councillor Parslow. Next, 10.2, 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4591, 2024 for consideration of adoption. Councillor Earl just has a conflict, so he's just going to step out for this one. All right. Councillor Kempf, second. Councillor McDonald. I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 10.3, myself and Councillor McDonald have a conflict of interest here, and Councillor Kempf will take over.
All right. Thank you, Worship. So 10.3 is 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4592, 2024 for consideration of adoption. Councillor Sudnick, is there a second? Councillor Earl? And we'll just take that to a vote. We just got to revote again. Perfect. So we have 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Councillor Parslow. Yep. There.
Thank you, Councillor Kempf. All right, next order of business is 11, Mayor's Business. 11.1, Mayor's Updates. So all staff meetings. So there was an all staff meeting, I think it would have been a couple of weeks ago now. Was able to attend and just really reiterate the messages that we're hearing from the community to the team at the city, and just share our appreciation for the teamwork and the amount of effort that's going into the community. So it was nice to see. It was great to see that many people or team members all in one facility and building, and and just and a thank you to you, Kevin, and your team. I know you're listening to the team, and that's the reason why you did it, is because it was put out on a survey and it was something that meant something to the team. So I just wanted to thank you. I know you put yourself out there and for the benefit of the team and the city. So it definitely shows great leadership skills on your part. So thank you, and thanks to all the team that attended. So it was nice to see. Second, Rotary Lunch and Sunrise at a couple meetings in the last few weeks with Charlie, Cheryl, and Tracy, who sit on the Retention and Recruitment Committee for the physicians. So we met with Rotary, and the reason for that is just with the new doctors coming in town, we've been talking and listening on that committee to the doctors and about how do we integrate them into our community and really showcase what our community is about, and that's our people. So there was some talk about if somebody could kind of own these families as they're coming here. So if, say there's a doctor that's coming this week that I'm meeting with that has, 3 young children, like how could we expose him to another family in our community that has 3 children or 2 children around the similar ages? So that can just help with questions. And as some of these physicians are coming, some are coming from different countries, and there's so many new and different things. So this was about reaching out to Rotary to see if there was some interest from Rotary on assisting on that. So as a new doctor's coming, that somebody from Rotary could kind of spearhead and take that person on. And they were definitely open to it, and we've had lots of dialogue since. Myself and Councillor Sudnick both sit on this committee, and we have a lot of dialogue with the new doctors that are coming in, and that's been extremely helpful, and I think we've seen a lot of wins from that, including the recent doctor that's coming, just saying that, he's not even here yet and he feels welcome to our community already, and that's huge. That's, it doesn't mean they're going to stay forever, but I mean, if we can just showcase who we are as a community, that should help with the retention, and it's definitely helped with the recruitment. So it's been great, and there's just been a lot of good things that have come out of there. And when I say a lot of good things, that's not my opinion. That's coming from the doctors, and also that committee is just about listening to doctors. So there's doctors that actually sit on that as well. So hoping that we see some success and it continues to grow, because I think this is something that can kind of lead back to like how we used to have the welcome wagon and can be maybe passed off to other professions as well. And it's a very good group with very good diversity on that group too. So 3 community conversations. I had a lot of community conversations in the last couple of weeks. So, I've always prided myself on my door being open and everybody's welcome. So I appreciate the community members that reach out and take the time to come in, the time out of their days to come in and talk to me, whether it's about concerns or good things. I really do appreciate it, and I just wanted to say thank you to those that have taken the time and really just to get that message out there that it's open, and I'm here to listen, and I know council as a whole as well too. So I did have one that was kind of interesting. I just wanted to touch on that. I had a parent that has a child that has some disabilities and is struggling. They're at kind of that age where there's some care for them and there's not some care. So it was good to hear that. And then it was also, that's kind of what our office is for, is how do we connect the right departments together. And so it was nice that I got to learn about those struggles. And there's a significant amount of families in our community that have very similar struggles. I won't get into the details of it, but with the Child Task Force Committee coming up too, I was then able to connect some of the leadership from that to this individual. So I just, wanted to put that out in the community. It's, and I find too, the more conversations I have, the more I learn. So that's, if there was a selfish part of it, is I get to learn about, what other residents and individuals are going through in our community, and I get to try and, I get to just learn and educate myself. So I appreciate that and just want to thank them. The Diverse Abilities Employer Recognition Dinner. So this was a couple Thursdays ago. I wanted to thank Rotary Club and David Johnson for putting this on. It was such an amazing evening. There must have been, I don't know, there was quite a few of us from this side there, but it was just to showcase the employers in the community that support diverse abilities employment. And there must have been 100 plus people in the room, and it was just a great evening to recognize all those employers. And I know this was their first one, so they're planning on doing it annually. And they did mention that they couldn't catch every single employer in the community, but they did a great job of that. And David really organized it himself, and just another event where the education is so crucial. You get to learn so much about what happens. So I just wanted to give a shout out to himself and then the whole group that organized it. The Northern Lights College Intercollegiate Rodeo, attended that as well with, there was quite a few counselors there and regional leaders too. It was very well attended on the time I was there. Whether it was, regional First Nations, the municipalities, the regional district. It was well attended, and one, it was amazing to see so many people in that facility. It was full and great, but the other is just the partnership with Northern Lights College and what they do for our community. It's so huge. They got such strong leadership there, and it's about bettering our community and the region as a whole. And it was just clear at that event, and to see all those youth, I guess they're not youth. Lots of them are young adults, but
Still youth.
Yeah, just to see them, just how much it's grown in the short period that it's been here and how well attended. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to those athletes first and foremost, but also to those that attended and to the Northern Lights College. So it was an amazing event. So number 6, I'm actually just going to leave, and I'll touch on that later because I have a motion I'm going to make around that. 7, Kelly Lake Cree Nations. So we had Chief Callio and some residents from Kelly Lake Cree Nations came in. It was about a couple weeks ago, so they asked for a meeting. So they came in and had some great conversation, really just about building that relationship with our neighbors. So that was amazing. And then they also had just some comments or questions around regional district stuff. So I won't get into that today because it's a different hat. But as a director there, I just had some questions. They had some questions around that, so I followed up with that. So, but I just wanted to thank Chief Callio and the residents for coming in and taking the time to meet with Kevin and myself. So, 8, Trombley Elementary classroom visit. So I was at an event a little while ago, and there was a grade 4 student that I know that came up to me, and he didn't know I was the mayor. So he was like, first mad at his grandma for not telling him. And then he said he had a whole bunch of questions for myself. So we put a email out to that grade 4 teacher and requested if they'd like me to come in. So they accepted, and I went in there and spent an hour with them one morning, and just really listened and had some fun with them. So it was amazing, actually, just to see. I was right there in the morning, so to see just their whole procedures at Tremblay in the morning and what they go through, and their land acknowledgement. They sing "O Canada." Like, it was pretty amazing to be part of, and inspiring to see those young community members just take so much pride in what they were doing. So it was pretty amazing. And then I was there for a good hour, probably, just answering questions. And it's always so educational, and definitely something I don't take for granted in this position. If I could do that every day, all day, I would do it, because I really enjoy every minute I get to spend with the youth. So I just wanted to say a thank you to them. Next, 9, I wanted to just touch base. There is an attachment on the agenda, so I just wanted to recognize Derek Patterson, a lifelong resident of Dawson Creek, who is, I'll maybe just read this out. A lifelong resident of Dawson Creek, British Columbia, has had an exceptional drag racing season in 2024. Behind the wheel of his iconic 1967 Plymouth Barracuda, the Quickfish, Derek has earned numerous accolades. One of the highest of his year is his invitation to the WDRA, which is the World Drag Racing Alliance World Finals, set to take place October 24th to 27th in Montgomery, Alabama. So I just wanted to bring awareness to Derek and Aaron, and I did see that they are traveling right now on their way down there. So pretty amazing. I've known Derek and Aaron for a long time, and just to see this come across the desk, and to see that he clearly, that family has a passion for this, and you see all his vehicles on his lot, and they're all like amazing and beautiful. But I just wanted to give a shout out to him and his wife for this. It's really amazing to know that he's going to be at the World Finals from Dawson Creek. So, and what he does. So I just want to wish him the best. And so just wanted to recognize that today. Community awards ceremony. I just wanted to, I haven't got an update on the seats or where we're at for tickets, but the last one was around 130, and that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm assuming it's getting close to being sold out, because I think the number was 200. So this is it's on November 7th. And I just, wanted to talk about it again. Just last year was the first one that we kind of went back out to the community. It's ran by Community Futures. And last year's event was absolutely phenomenal, just to recognize our community as a whole. And it was amazing in every aspect, just to see everybody there, all, whether it was the youth or companies or nonprofits that were all, put forward, to see the amount of people that voted. I think last year it was like 1,700 people voted on it, which is, I think, more than we get for an election. So, for a municipal election. But it was just absolutely amazing. So if you haven't got your tickets and you want to go, please reach out to the Community Futures, because it's coming up. Next, cultural gatherings. So just had a meeting with Scion Industries. So they've partnered with a lot of the First Nations, and they're organizing a cultural gathering in Dawson Creek next September. And it's there'll be a lot of different things there. So I don't want to speak too much of it yet, because I don't know what's been finalized, but I know a big part will be a hand games event, and then a cultural gathering, and really just amazing to get that in our community, just really to help continue to educate our community on just the First Nations and the history of the First Nations and all of that. So really excited about that event, and as I get more details, I'll let you know. So Next, South Peace Secondary Student Council. So we talked a little bit earlier about them, but I attended, might have been last Tuesday or the Tuesday before. I went and attended one of their student council meetings. So it was actually where their new elected grade 10 students got brought in. So it was amazing. I just went there and listened and followed them. So it's really impressive to see they run their meetings just like we do. Like it's, they have codes of conduct and they have all this stuff. So it was really great to see in what they're working on. And I just really went there to show them that we're here with them. We want to work with them. We want to continue to support them. And so I'll also reach out to them about this, the other thing that we proposed earlier this morning. And then last, I wanted to touch on the BC elections. So obviously we had that this week. I wanted to give a shout out to MLA Mike Bernier just for his, I think it's been 11 or 12 years that he's represented our region and community, and just thank him for his time and effort that he's put into that to make our community and region a better place, and all the things that he's done to bring awareness to some of the struggles. And I've known Mike for a long time. I've had a short period in this chair dealing with them, but he's helped tremendously on any time we needed to. We've had a lot of provincial challenges, so he's helped instrumental in guiding us along that road and setting up meetings and getting there. So I just wanted to thank him for his time to the region and community. And I'd also like to welcome and congratulate Larry Neufeld to his new position. And just congratulations. And we look forward to building a relationship and moving forward and working together to help our region. So, yeah. Any questions on those, Councillor Earl?
Just with respect to the cultural gathering being organized, one concern, if it's in September, are the dates at all going to overlap with UBCM? Because I assume we're going to want a robust municipal presence there. So
Yeah, they are. It'll be on the weekend, so it starts on the Friday of UBCM, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the last day of UBCM?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think what will happen, depending on how that works, is one or two of us can fly back a day early, and I usually come back Thursday anyway, so I don't see.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we were gonna be able to put our best foot forward in both issues. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The date was already kind of determined by the committee, and Councillor Parslow.
My question's on the same topic. Is the cultural gathering distinct from the request for a powwow, or is it synonymous?
Yeah, it's all kind of one, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? No? All right. Next, 11.2. I don't think there was a request from the Kiwanis Performing Arts Center. 11.3 was unable to attend. 11.4, we have not done that yet. So 11.5, I just, this is just in regards to my meeting with Northern Lights College, discussion on the international student enrollment. So I'm just going to put a motion forward and then I can discuss. So that council authorized staff to send a letter to the ministry responsible for immigration, refugees, and citizenship regarding the negative impacts of capping international student study permits and revised postgraduate work permits have on publicly funded colleges, institutions, the region as a whole, and our community. So if I get a second, I can speak to the little Councillor McDonald. So I just had a meeting with the college, and I have a lot of briefing notes on it, so I can send this out to everybody if they want, but I won't go through in detail right now. But just we're waiting for a few more, so just wanted to get ahead of the game and get approval from council if they're in favor of this, and then we can draft something and just send it out instead of it coming back to council. But really just, there's a lot of impacts that are coming to the Northern Lights College, our community, and the region as a whole because of capping these study permits. And it was done, one day it was one way and the next day it was a very clean cut. So we're lucky we have a very innovative college, and they're already thinking about ways to get through this, but it's an instant 30% cut to their enrollment. There's other colleges in the province that it's 90%. And it's going to be, there's going to be some big impacts to it, but also, there's just so much to it. So I won't spend a whole bunch of time going through it, but that's really what this was about. We're also going to send this letter off once it's done to all of our neighboring communities, First Nations, our MLAs, MPs, and also our provincial ministries that, this would impact as well. So, yeah. So if there's any questions, I know I'll let Councillor McDonald go.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to clarify when you said send it to ministry, so we're going to send it to federal, provincial, MP, MLAs, everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and that's kind of some of the notes we were wondering, because I know there's a couple federal ministers that deal with this, so we wanted to get all that information first, so, yeah. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I would commend you for being proactive on this. Seems like one of those instances where in order to put out a political fire in parts of the country where 75% of the people live with respect to housing affordability, a blanket policy is created that isn't necessarily a good fit for those of us in the other part of the country where, we have housing challenges, but, with respect to keeping our community vital, keeping our economy strong, being able to welcome people who do want to move here and who do want to make a better life for themselves and who do want to contribute and who've been a tremendous benefit to the community. This undermines that in a number of ways. And I know, as a small regional college, there are a number of programs and opportunities that are only viable as far as scales of economies go because they can attract those students. So this just isn't a matter of, there's less international students. It's the programs that they help offset the costs of go with them. So there's, less specialized training in the region, there's a lot of negative implications for what this policy could inevitably do. And once again, it is, not something that is intended to help with the issues we have here. So no, I support this, and I think rural communities in a similar situation, whether it's, the Cranbrooks who have their College of the Rockies, or whether it's, in particular, small regional colleges like ours are going to be particularly vulnerable because that they're dependent not just, to fund a bunch of, admin people, but the programs themselves require a certain number of enrollees in order to be viable. So, the implications could be very, very disruptive to our local economy, but also the opportunities that are available for the children here.
Yeah, absolutely. And to touch a little bit just on that, thank you, about the college programs that so lots of that's the benefit of having Northern Lights College is they cater their programming to what the needs are in our region and community. So lots of their schooling programs that's attracting these are actually job shortages and things that we need in our region. And the list that has been sent down from the federal government doesn't include any of those. So they're going to have to if it has gone through, but if it stays, they got to adapt and adjust and change it. But then they're putting programs in place that might not necessarily be needed in this region. And they're able to adapt all the time. So they've changed over the years to include programs where we have shortages in certain areas of healthcare or schools. And so it's tough, right? And then and then you talk about all the impacts that it has to everything else in the community, right? It's significant. So, so thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Oh, I was going to say the same as Councillor Earl, but in fewer words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Less charming.
Much less charming. Well, thank you, Councillor Farslow. All right, I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. All right, next, 12, Chief Administrative Officer Operational Updates.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Worship. Couple quick updates. The pool is reopened after it's shut down, and we're open 7 days a week. So that's good news. We're back to a full schedule for the first time since the pandemic, pre-pandemic. So it's been a long road, but kudos to staff. Everybody really there for pulling together and getting some new people on board and building a schedule, and we're back at it. So that's great news. The Memorial Arena is coming along. Some finishing touches. I think we're still scheduled for November 1st. Commissioning the building with HVAC, completing some replacement of the rubber walkways in some of the dressing rooms and whatnot that were dirty from the construction, and so that's finalizing. So that's it's on schedule. So that's good. Snow is here. Winter is here. Just a reminder for everybody, these first couple of snowfalls, because the road is still a bit warm, snow tends to melt and refreeze on the road and does make it extra special. Slippery, and we haven't had a chance prior to these events to get any salt or sand out there. So these first couple, until we get some of that out and there's a bit of residual for these subsequent snowfalls, it's always a little bit of slick. So just reminder everybody, just a little bit of caution. And we had crews out Saturday night and then again yesterday and today things. So and the weather's going to warm up here in a day or so, so it'll probably melt off. But those first few are always fun. And then just lastly, I just wanted to give a quick update on the Kiskatna River. We had staff do a helicopter flyover a couple weeks ago and get a good look at the current conditions. So in a nutshell, it's not great. What they see out there is extremely dry. The marsh muskeg areas are dry. Dugouts are empty. We see a lot of, up at Bear Hole Lake, we see a lot of weed growth that we haven't seen in the past, and I suspect that's due to the warm weather that we've had. I don't know that that's necessarily negatively impacting us, but it's an indicator. Although I think it is causing a few challenges with our release. We see along the river channels, we see multiple beaver dams. Just about every half a kilometer there's a beaver dam, and they're big beaver dams. So nature's working hard to try and store water up. So we've scheduled a meeting with ministry staff, or we're in the process of scheduling it, just to really talk about our current situation and just where we go. We started a release September 7th. So we've seen that come through now. But what that is showing us is with the release from Bear Hole Lake, it is just getting the river back up to the levels that it was last year with no release. So we're still at very low levels and at risk of freezing at some point in the winter, unless we get more of what we see out there today with some early snowfall moisture, which will help. What else do we have here? So it's really, where do we go? So I do believe that there is a significant risk, depending on weather, that the river could freeze again at some point if we don't get more more late fall moisture. We're hopeful that the release will prevent that, but I can't say with certainty. We're going to have to talk to the ministry about beaver dams and see if there's anything we should do, whether that will improve our situation. I think we will have to revisit stage 2. I think it's just the prudent thing to do. We don't see at this moment in time a lot of industrial use. So that's good from a consumption perspective. We're able to meet the demand without a problem, but I think as we determine next steps, that might be something we need to do as a preventative measure. The good news is reservoirs are full, and we are able at this point to maintain pumping to match that to our demand. So we will keep reservoirs full until we can't. But we will be having that conversation with the ministry, which really is a prelude to having a conversation with emergency management, BC too, right? Because we have to be prepared and at least give them a perspective of where we're at and a heads up that if for some reason we run into an extended freeze in the river and that causes us some challenges, that we want to be prepared that they're able to assist if necessary. So we will be, I guess the moral of the story is staff is on it and keeping a close eye on things. We do need to do a repair on some valves on our raw water line between the river and it's right at Hanson Reservoir, right at the old Aris Highway. We have some leaking valves there, so we do need to fix those. So we're going to have to shut the pumps down, and we're just looking at how long that may take to replace that. It's probably anywhere from a week, maybe a little bit more, to do these repairs. But if we don't, a percentage of the water we're pumping is just leaking and going into the ditch and running away. So we do need to do it. It's just no time is a good time, but we will. We're going to take a close look at that and try and take a very strategic approach that we are shut down for the least amount of time. Any questions?
Thanks, Kevin. Just on the ESS, we did meet with their team too when we were at UBCM, and they're pretty well aware of everything that's going on up here. So thank you to your team for making sure they're kept in the loop. So
for sure.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. We were told before when we first went to 7-day service that we were in a very precarious position staff-wise to get us to 7 days at the pool. Are we in a better position now than we were back then? Are we pretty stable staff-wise, or?
I'll let Ryan answer that.
Okay.
He's probably got a better handle than I.
Through your worship, Councillor McDonald, the answer is yes. We're always still recruiting and training during the. So we have a full complement. We've got a variety of different shifts, different hours, or different makeup of the hours that have been provided to the staff, and through the shutdown as well. Additionally, we took advantage of Melina as a national trainer. And so we put several of our staff through different training options and opportunities to deliver more courses, from fitness through to the higher level certifications. So that will definitely help. We are running a bronze medallion, bronze cross, and we're starting that intake of that feeder system for lifeguards as well.
Excellent. Good to hear. And sorry, if I can, just another one. Kevin, if we do freeze off again, how many days do the two reservoirs give us?
So through your worship, we've got about 200 days.
200?
I think that's we've probably got a little bit more, but conservatively we're around.
Does
200.
that include Bear Hole though, or is that without
no,
Bear Hole?
Bear Hole's on top of that.
Okay.
So and we have drawn Bear Hole down somewhat already. So, but even what's remaining in Bear Hole, this is just simply based on the elevation of the weir at Bear Hole, is about another 150 days.
Okay.
I mean, take that for what it is. But there's still significant water at Bear Hole.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Any other questions? Did have one, but
walk away.
yeah, I know. So, all right. Thanks, Kevin.
Yes.
Next for business, 13 diary. If there's anything in the diary, 14 consent calendar. Did anybody want to lift the item from the consent calendar? Well, I got a motion to accept the consent calendar. Councillor Earl, second Councillor Kemp. I will call that to vote. One more. No, I got mine.
That was me.
I had to look again, but the vote is closed. It's carried. 15, no media questions. Actually, just something referring to media. I did speak with the lady that was attending here from media, and she, just because she travels down, it's tough for her to always commit to coming here, but she does listen to our council meetings, so I did mentioned to her, and I think she does reach out to our communications, but I said if there's anything she needs, just to reach out anytime, so. All right, 16, recess to close meeting. 16.1, resolution to move into meeting of council closed to the public. Agenda items 2.1 and 6.1, section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages. Agenda item 6.1, section 91E, the acquisition, position, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be affected to harm the interest of the municipality. And agenda item 7.1, section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. So motion, Councillor Sudnick, second Councillor Kemp. Those that are watching, we will be back in probably around 12:30, 1:45 for the remainder of our open. So I'll call this motion to vote. One more. Myself. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thank you. So our next order of business is 2.3. We have Siobhan Hutchings, Nicole Verdon, and Charlie Parslow here to present to the Community Homelessness Committee and the Community Homelessness Committee in attendance regarding homelessness in Dawson Creek. So just before I hand it over, I just want to thank, I know we have a big delegation in the gallery, and I just want to thank you for all your efforts that you're doing. And I know Councillor Parslow and his way better half have helped you and kind of been guiding. But I want you to know that we appreciate the work. We have a lot of empathy and sympathy for those that are out there, and we realize the stresses that come with it. It's been one of the biggest things that Kevin and myself have been dealing with since we've taken office in the last couple of years is the issues we face. And, we're here to advocate. We're here to listen. We're here, to work within a community and empower our community to make our city and our region a better place. So I just want you to know that we really do appreciate the efforts that have went into this. So, and I will turn it over to you. So I think Councillor Parslow, and I guess, I don't know if you wanted to touch a little bit why you're doing this as well. So Councillor Parslow.
Okay, before I ask our presenters, I should qualify, our responders here to introduce themselves, a little bit of background. I have the pleasure of supporting INS in different ways. And at one of our debrief sessions where somebody had died who was supported, the discussion led to, well, we really need to have a Dawson Creek committee that's focused on the issues concerning people who find themselves homeless. And so then Siobhan, who is in contact with all sorts of agencies and individuals who support people who are homeless, facing a lot of different problems, pulled together a group of people. Myself and Mary served as facilitators. That's been my primary role, facilitate meetings. People were told clearly I do not represent the city. I'm not here in that role. I'm here as a citizen of the community who happens to have good contact with people at INS. So this session is really to present the deliberations of this committee. And I guess that there have been 30 people, different people gathered at these meetings, which have been held at Narrowton or at INS, from different ministries, different agencies, volunteers, and the meetings have been great. I should say that there's a lot of emotion about this. And people are passionate about supporting people. And so there's the focus I have here is to present the information. This is an information gathering meeting. It's not a decisional making meeting. And it's an opportunity to understand and to ask those questions that arise. So perhaps, Siobhan, you would like to introduce yourself and explain your role, okay?
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for having us today. My name is Siobhan Hutchings. I have strong roots in Dawson Creek. I was born and raised here, and this is where I choose to raise my family. For 14 years, I owned a business in Dawson Creek that was dedicated to supporting individuals in the Peace region to starting and growing their families. Following my time as a business owner, I transitioned into social services work. I began advocating and collaborating with individuals facing significant barriers by volunteering for street outreach. This experience provided me with firsthand insight into the persistent challenges individuals encounter when trying to access basic services and resources such as shelter, food, water, and clothing. In January, I joined the INS team as a Bear Outreach Coordinator, focusing on supporting low barrier and supported independent living outreach individuals. My role on this committee is to advocate for community safety, basic human rights, belonging, to reduce barriers, and to create meaningful long-term change. Throughout this presentation, you'll frequently hear us mention low barrier individuals. This term typically refers to people who face significant obstacles in accessing essential services and resources such as shelter, food, water, and clothing. These individuals often encounter stigma and may lack identification, stability, and have intellectual disability, brain injury, and complex trauma. In Dawson Creek, they are frequently banned from existing services and establishments, which is one of the largest barriers they face in moving forward in their life. These individuals benefit immensely from trauma-informed, person-centered approach that emphasizes flexibility, respect, and understanding of their multifaceted needs. By creating safe, accessible environments and initiating the asks that we have come here to ask from the city, we can better meet their basic needs and connect them to services and resources they need within our community. Thank you for your attention and support in advocating for these important changes. I look forward to working with you to ensure every individual in Dawson Creek can thrive in a safe community.
Thank you. Nicole?
My name is Nicole Verdon. I am a business owner in Dawson Creek. I actually live in Poos, but we own a business here. I'm very I'm a very concerned citizen. I'm a volunteer. I do outreach when I can, but I'm a mother of two, and my life is very busy, and I have a lot of hands and a lot of pots. So trying to keep focused on what's important, and with the recent snowfall, life is important. I do believe every life matters. Sorry, I know tears make us uncomfortable, but this is an uncomfortable thing. So,
Don't be sorry.
yeah, so it's just very, very important to me that people aren't freezing on the streets and, starving and not being hydrated. It just seems like those are very, very, very basic needs that, should be concerning to us all.
Right. Thank you, Nicole. As I said, there's a lot of passion and a lot of emotion, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So the committee met, and the first task was to really describe what they would hope the situation would look like, with some hard work for the people who find themselves homeless. I should add that there's also a good number of people who are in danger of being homeless, and we mustn't forget them as well. To those people who are actually working, supporting homeless people on the streets, the number that is widely accepted is at this time is about 52. 47 of them are long-term residents of Dawson Creek. Some were born here, went to school here, have family here. So 47, though, have lived here at least 7 years. So after the sort of visioning, there was a description of what the situation is now, what needs to get better, and that led to the establishment of a number of goals, 8 actually. Because you can't work on 8 goals at a time, 4 were selected. And those 4 goals, in turn, trickled down to, so what is the ask of the city? For some of the goals, there's no ask. For others, there's asks. So what is being presented to the city is a distillation of the asks. Now, the first group of goals came from, the first group of asks, which are all of the asks other than the bottom 3, came from a planning session about implementing the goals. The last 3 came about with, hey, whilst these goals are, these actions are important, these asks are important, there's also some immediate situations that need to be dealt with. Basically, the upcoming winter. But before we go through these asks, council members, and I assume staff, I'm not certain about that, had the opportunity of looking at a video that was produced here in Dawson Creek. We've all looked at it, and I just wondered if there's any reflections or comments council members might want to make about what they saw.
I guess one, thank you for all of this. But you look at some of these folks that are on the streets and that are struggling, like they weren't 12-year-old kids in our community and dreaming of being homeless. They've had traumatic experiences, they've had mental health issues, addiction, whatever those are. Like, I don't personally look at them any different than myself. Like, easy enough for one of us to be there, right? So, I mean, I watched the video, but I see it. I don't like, the video didn't give me anything I didn't know, because I see it in our community, and you want to reach out and you want to do something to help. And we've, been working hard, we feel, to look at what other communities are doing and really like, where can we help? What is our avenue? What can we do? So it's sad, right? Like when you guys said the emotions, like I get it, right? Like I feel it, and I know we all do on this side. We talk, and we want to have our community to be a safe place for everybody. It's not just about being safe for a couple people. It's about, this is a community. This isn't about that's a community and this isn't. We're a community as a whole. So it's about, how do we empower our community to make our community a better place? So, like I said at the beginning, when you have individuals like you that have taken time out of your days to do this stuff and come up with ideas and suggestions, like it's absolutely amazing that you would do that, right? That you can hear it in your voice, Nicole, right? Like you're doing this because you care and you want to do what's right. And like we're open to hear what that is and how we work together. So, as far as the video, like, it's sad, right? It's sad. These are real people. I mean, that's my opinion when I seen it, but it just, it just brings those emotions back up and those feelings, right? But it's, for the whole 2 years that I've been sitting here, it's been at the top of the list that we've been dealing with and see, and it's sad. So, so that's my part on it. I don't know if council had any. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I was just going to reflect on real people, real humans that deserve better in our community, that deserve to feel safe, do not deserve to feel the stigma they receive, do not deserve the treatment they receive, who deserve our help. The mayor said it quite well. Nobody was at 8, 10, 12 years old saying, I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to be an addict. Society has failed these people. We need to do a better job and come together. Absolutely.
I think they also say, like, when you said those that are, are on the brink of becoming homeless, like 70% of Canadians are, I think it's $400 a month away from not being able to make it. Like, it's real. Like, it's not here, it's everywhere, and it's real. And it's like, how do we make a difference, right? So it's big, and it's life. Like, there's value to every life.
Any other comments, right?
Councillor Aplonio?
Okay. I watched the video, and of course, on the comfort of my bedroom last night, and I was really struck or pierced, or it's really poignant. So, and it's sad to see one or two people I know on those videos, and it's really. I work in INS as well with Charlie, and I know the difficulty every day, or supporting these individuals, even adult residential or with vulnerable sector of the society, is hard. And sometimes I do my rounds. You want to help, but you can't, or sometimes up to where you can help. Like, for example, seeing those tents at the provincial building, you want to help, but how can we help, or how can I help? It's really risky in a way because you don't know where or what or how. But good thing that you're doing this. I've been doing this for like 11 years, and if I saw some progress, that's remarkable. Like, make even one individual at a time, for example, just transform their lives, part of the society. Even, for example, one of ours, if we're 11 here, for example. So at least 11 people will be okay slowly, or maybe 11 years. Maybe we'll take that, at least at that 11 years, a person change his life, or 2 or 3 people. So it's not impossible. It's really possible. And thank you for doing this, like, as the community homelessness committee, at least we're doing something like a community rather than just by individual, because it's really hard. As we always said, it takes a village to raise a single individual or maybe the whole community. So if we were just doing it by ourselves or by myself or maybe just one of us, it's really hard. But if it's like a community, and thank you very much for the gallery and of course for doing this. So, sorry, because I can relate. I see it like every day in a way. So it's really hard. But of course, I'm just only new here. Just 2 years in council, of course, and just 15 years or here in Dawson Creek. So I don't know where it came from or where it's going or something like that. At least we started talking now in a way. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I mean, with respect to the video itself, I think it's valuable as a reminder to us. You know, sometimes in government, we have to look at the community as a whole, right? And you look at things, you get figures, you get statistics, and from 5,000 feet in the air, you know, you don't always get to see the human face. Oh, okay. That was random. But, you know, to be brought back down to earth and have that reaffirmed that there is a human face to this and there is real human beings suffering and struggling, I think is incredibly valuable. It also occurred to me as I was watching it, the contrast or brought home the extent to which we as a community and society have done ourselves a disservice by allowing issues like this to be mediated through the funhouse mirror lens of social media, and how that distorts everything and how that undermines our ability to have sober-minded, constructive conversations about what is the best path forward and the trade-offs and the nuance and the compromise required when we make public policy, when we, you know, when we try and have policies that are impactful and responsive. So it certainly, you know, it was a nice, I guess, dunk in a bucket of ice water to kind of realign perspective, but it was also kind of distressing about how do we get the conversation back on track, because there's been a couple years of, you know, and coming out of the pandemic, people are agitated, people are aggrieved, people are angry, people are confused, and that mode of operating seems to be forcing its way into all other issues to the point where it's very hard to have a sober-minded conversation about this. So I appreciate the video, and I look forward to the dialogue.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Was your plan to kind of go through this? Were you going to go through the?
Yeah, I will
okay.
be, yeah.
I just wasn't sure if that was,
That's
if
right.
you wanted to open up for questions, but yeah.
No, the committee wanted you to see the video and wanted to hear from you, so thank you about that. So you have a handout on your computer. Yes, sorry, Nicole.
Yeah, go ahead. Nicole.
Sorry. I thought the video was very, very, very well done. I also think it was very, very, very soft. Like, I feel like that's still not a lot of the reality that we see every day. A very small portion, of course, of the people that are out there, and they were pretty kind to what they were going through. So, I mean, that was a very polished, very friendly version of what goes on. And yeah, I thought it was really, really well done. I wanted to see more. But I know for somebody who's in it is very different than for somebody who, it was probably very eye-opening for a lot of people just to, see that little glimmer. And it was very, that was very easy to watch compared to, what's actually going on.
I think some of the struggles we face too is that we don't have the proper systems in place to help some of these people, right? So you take one of the big eye openers for me, and this was a little while ago, but a business owner that I know downtown, a lady, she was getting frustrated because she had to deal with some of it and it was impacting her life. And just to see, like, you know, she's a very empathetic, kind person, but had to see how the switch went because it was like, it was really impacting her and her team's life. And it was like, it's like, hey, like, this is real. Like, it's not fair on any end, right? Like, it's like, we need to get services in place and how do we advocate and continue to push for them and where there's change. So, yeah.
Yeah, safety for all. Like, I think that's a huge thing. It's like the business owners need to be safe. It's like the people on the street need to be safe. Like, everybody has a right to feel safe. And, you know, it's tricky.
Exactly, right.
Very multifaceted.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the committee has a mission statement and some guiding principles. You can read those yourselves. The committee also has a very powerful summary, what we call the North Star. And I remember it was a lady from Narrowton who expressed it, and it was quickly adopted. But it's really about, you know, we're one community, one heart.
Yeah.
And when she said that, that captured it, I think, for everybody. We are a community, and we support each other. But let's move to the asks, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a lot of deliberation about, well, what are the asks of City? How can City help? I'm going to read them aloud because some people won't have this in front of them. And I will read aloud. I'll make a few comments, and then Siobhan or Nicole may add that, or they may answer the questions you may have, right? So the first one, that the city arranges for the development of a comprehensive community safety and well-being plan. The plan will conduct an analysis of the community services that support and or interact with individuals who are unhoused, vulnerable, and at risk. The analysis will reference but not be limited to mental health, social and protective services, housing, addictions, and Indigenous support services. The analysis will determine what is working well, what needs to be stronger, and determine gaps and overlaps in the services. The analysis will also provide recommendations to improve the support of the at-risk population of the community and the availability of funding and other supports for any proposed initiatives. The analysis will include public, private, contracted, and volunteer aspects of the service. In the meetings with a number of agencies there, it was clear that there was some uncertainty of who was doing what, or what was operative or not operative. So that led to the notion, really, we need to have a really review of the city as a whole, both public, private, etc., etc. Because there is funding for some things that we know of. And also, if the city is planning on making expenditures in certain areas, or an agency applying for grants for certain areas, it would be very good to have a professionally done community safety and wellness plan. I got this wording from the city of Penticton, where my daughter is the chief of police and superintendent of the South Okanagan. They did this. And I want to read from it. I'll give my colleagues here and maybe some of you some background. The review proceeded on the basis of two fundamental principles. One, the police, fire and rescue, bylaw and community safety officer services should ensure that existing resources are being used as effectively and efficiently as possible. And two, that any new resources be targeted for specific areas where analysis has revealed there are gaps in service delivery, with metrics to assess the impact of additional resources. The overall objective of the project was to generate materials that will assist municipal council, the city, agencies, and volunteers in their efforts to ensure the safety and security and quality of life for all community residents. In other words, Penticton. There is among community residents and agencies and municipal staff considerable expertise that could be mobilized to address the challenges in the community. This would be best accomplished with the creation of a community safety and well-being plan. So this is one of the asks for Council to consider. I'm going to move on, as that's.
Councillor McDonald, are you fine till he goes through all these? Or did you have a question?
Or do you want to? No, I did think that you might have questions after each one, but I didn't understand you.
I just had a real quick question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Talking about development of comprehensive community self-being, financial supports and that, and excuse me, was anybody here at the Community Action Initiative roundtable that was done 2 years ago for the development of the Community Action Table? No? Okay. Talking of funding, there is good funding there with the Provincial Community Action Initiative to help set up a Community Action Table and team. And I just wanted to highlight that right off the bat.
Thank you.
That is I attend their monthly meetings over Zoom. It does speak more to addictions, but this falls right into this, and somebody of your team should be attending those meetings and working with those wonderful ladies. Okay, sorry.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Yeah, no, sorry. Councillor Barzal.
Okay, I'm going to move on unless you indicate you want to add anything, okay? So the second one is that the city facilitates the establishment of a situation table for Dawson Creek, using the model established by the Ministry of Public Safety and the Solicitor General. Now, I was first made aware of the situation table by someone council members will know, Edward Stanford of Urban Systems. He was telling me about the one established in Fort St. John. The intent of a situation table is when some agency in support of an individual is finding that this person is heading for a deeper crisis and they do not have the resources or the approach that they think might work, they bring it to this table. And there's some collective work done together to try to support that individual before they really crash out. I'm going to read here from the city of Nanaimo. These situation tables, if you apply to that ministry, there's a grant of $30,000. That $30,000 is intended to train the agencies, to provide software, protocols, and data collection so that the group has a solid framework for operating. In the case of Fort St. John, I think it was applied for after city direction by the RCMP. I'm not certain about that. It was somebody other than the city, but the city approved it. In Nanaimo, the city of Nanaimo had a presentation by their MLA who presented the model. city endorsed its formation, the Nanaimo RCMP applied for the funding, and that led to all the workshops and so on. But their table is called the Nanaimo Acute Response Table. It's a multi-agency team focused on addressing situations where the probability of a vulnerable person or family experiencing harm is imminent, significant, and cuts across multiple human service sectors. So, this is the ask here is for the city to study that and see if it's something that it can endorse. Moving on, unless there's no questions. Right, number 3. That the city be an advocate and a financial supporter for a yet-to-be-planned conference on the social impacts of trauma to be held in Dawson Creek. That the city assign a senior member of the city staff to work on the planning committee for the conference. The guiding principles of this homeless committee are deeply embedded in trauma-informed practice. There's a lot of fear in the community. There's a lot of misunderstanding in the community. And there needs to be an informed practice from all who interact with the homeless people. I won't get into the details of it, but we do need to elevate the knowledge and the skill set of people when working with all people, but particularly in this case, the homeless, which is our focus. So, conference there is funding as well, I believe, that can support some aspects of the conference. The next are kind of small, but they needed to be state that the city release staff to attend workshops on the social impacts of trauma held in the city. There are some workshops held here, and I think it behoves, if the city endorses this, the agencies who are providing those to invite through the CAO, through Kevin there, some staff to attend those. But I think particularly bylaw officers, right? But other staff as well. Next, that the city encourage the RCMP have its members take workshops on the social impacts of trauma. They're frontline workers dealing with people who have suffered from trauma. They should learn some ways of supporting them. The next one, and this is a biggie, and I'm sure it's one that will vote some questions, that the city, along with community organizations, support the acquisition and operation of an outreach vehicle, such as a motor home or bus, to address the immediate needs of food, warming/cooling, clothing, harm reduction supplies, and wound care by a not-for-profit society. So I wondered, Siobhan, if you'd like to expand on that.
So for a lot of reasons, these individuals don't have access to food, water, clothing, shelter, being able to warm or cool in extreme weather. And in a lot of cases, outreach is their best chance of getting any of that. And right now, outreach is really limited to how much supplies they have, to the hours they work, and to their abilities, really. Two of the outreach one of the outreach in Dawson Creek is volunteer-based, that she has no funding for that, and the other is through the Nowakin. And we're really thankful for those services, but we need more. They are unable to keep up to the demand and meet the basic needs of the individuals on the street, especially during times of, like a holiday or weekends, times like that when everything is closed and they can't get any food whatsoever.
Sorry, an outreach meaning you said Nowakin, so they go out to the individuals.
Yeah,
where,
so you're
like,
meeting the individuals where they're at. You're finding them where they are and giving them the services that they need, or the food or water or shelter. Yeah. Also, the outreach we mentioned warming and cooling. That's really important that it be a bus or a motorhome opposed to just a vehicle, because the vehicles are too small and sometimes you have a few people who need warming at once or cooling, and to stay in there for more than 15 minutes. If we're doing that just in our regular cars, we have to cycle out really quickly and people don't even get a chance to thaw or to cool down before having to leave. If there was the ability with a motorhome or a bus for people to be able to stay and to get warm and to get cool, to have a meal, that would be really helpful.
So when you say out in your normal vehicles, so is that something they're doing right now? Like there's volunteers that are, say, like at Nowakin, that are volunteering to go out in their own vehicle and...
Yeah, so Nowakin has an outreach program, so they're going out in a Nowakin vehicle for outreach. And they're just cars, though, right now, the two outreach outfits that are going on. So we just need something larger. We need to be able to have meals, be able to warm meals, store meals. Bathroom would be really nice. Most all of these individuals that we are trying to support cannot use a single bathroom in this town. They're not allowed in any establishments. There is no bathroom for them. A place to change your clothes and privacy, things like that. Just, it's not, vehicles, just cars, trucks aren't made for that.
Okay. And then I'm just trying to get as much information to educate myself. But so when I hear this, I think the province right away, because the provincial government and the province is, mental health and addiction, and healthcare is their portfolio. Mm-hmm. Do they not have funding for stuff like this that would assist those nonprofit organizations?
It's possible, and I think as we move forward, we're going to look into some funding streams and revenue and how to do that. Right now, today, with the winter here, we need these services in order to keep them alive while we're trying to get that funding.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So I just add, just to emphasize this, we applaud Nowakin. Mm-hmm. We applaud the volunteer. Mm-hmm. But this is needed 24/7, pretty well, I'm going to say year-round, but maybe not year-round, depends. But you see what I mean? Now it's limited. Mm. And
well, I think, too, not only applaud the Nowakin, I mean, you have numerous organizations in our community that help, like you would be aware of, like whether it's St. Mark's or Networks or Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. There's so many unbelievable organizations in our community that help. So
yeah, that's true for sure. But I think for outreach, it's limited to, for this level of outreach, Nowakin and volunteer, and with funding and with hours and staffing, they just can't keep up to the need.
it's the second outreach, because you said there was two. So the second outreach is just a group of volunteers.
It's a volunteer. Yeah, it has no funding. They just do it on their own.
yeah.
And they're not affiliated with the Nowakin, they just do it separate.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen a number of news clips with outreach buses, outreach vehicles in other, I have to say, major cities. Yeah. I know Grand Prairie has some form of it.
And just another note about outreach is that often these individuals have trust issues. They are hesitant to accept help from medical professionals, from policing or anything like that. And so an outreach worker can really fill the gap there. Often outreach workers have peer involvement, which makes people feel more comfortable as well. So this is a great way for these low barrier individuals who can't go anywhere, don't trust anybody, have been burned by everything, to get support that feels safe to them.
Mm-hmm. I feel like my dream goal would be to have have a phone number for this bus or this situation, and so when somebody calls 911 because somebody's nodding or they're on the street, the ambulance has to come. Well, they don't feel safe to stay with the individual, so then the individual runs. So now the ambulance has to find this individual, or it's an abandonment patient. So we're now abusing our ambulance. We already don't have enough. So, I mean, if we had somebody taking in the call, or our call center was aware that this bus exists, it's like, oh, you think they may have overdosed. Okay, should we, so first call is to the outreach. Outreach goes and assesses the situation or whatnot. And then we're not bogging down our ambulance, and not that people are not worth it, but it's just a very threatening situation. They hear ambulance and that's like, whew, gone. So I just see that could be a huge benefit to the community as well, and our resources that we are very limited, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to move on, if that's okay. Next ask is that the city adopt a flexible approach to enable the building of small homes for the unhoused, land, zoning, licensing and services. And I have heard from people in the know that there is money available for housing. So would either of you like to add to this particular ask?
Sure. Are any of you familiar with the Housing First principle or approach? That in order for people to move forward in their life, they must have housing and stability and safety first before they can move forward or make changes in their life. So this is based on the idea that we need housing. We're in a housing crisis. It's unaffordable to rent. We cannot find a place for these individuals, and little homes might be a great solution to that. If they're able to have a shelter, safety, stability, then they can take the next step forward in their life, whatever that might mean to them. It's very hard to go to treatment or start employment or do anything in your life when you're living on the street. It's very hard, and we often witness individuals drive by the unhoused and yell, get a job or go to treatment. It's very difficult to do that when you're unhoused, when you don't know what day it is, what time it is, when your next meal is.
Yeah, I found something, I think on the East Coast. I think you sent it to me a while ago, and somebody that started a little housing project that seemed to have some success. So
Yeah. And also a place to belong. These individuals do not belong in society, says society, and they have nowhere to go. They can't go to get a coffee, they can't go to use a bathroom. There's literally no place they're allowed to be in this community or feel they're allowed to be. And a space or a tiny home would help some with the belonging as well.
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Not just the East Coast, in Cowichan, Lake Cowichan. Are you talking about the Lake Cowichan model? For the small housing? You haven't seen that either? Exactly what you're talking about, where they've created an area of small housing that is in a circle. They have a community, a communal area in the middle that is your bathroom, your showers, etc. But they have lockable small houses where they can keep their few possessions, etc.
Yeah.
Right? You should look into that model as well.
Yeah, well, it's housing
Look it up
first
for
model,
sure.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. I shared that with you before, didn't I? About the Cowichan one too?
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
All the literature I have read validates the fact that housing is the pivotal first step of helping someone move forward. And the goal is always to try to help them to move forward, right? This report from the city of Abbotsford recounts all the research that they've done there, and it clearly points to that. And so that's, I think, a fairly straightforward ask to comprehend if one recognizes that housing is the first step. And as I say, I do believe, I'm not going to put anyone on the spot in the gallery there, but there is funding available. I believe it's provincial funding, but it might be federal. Next asked is that city staff and elected officials educate themselves about trauma and the social impacts of trauma and how to support traumatized individuals. The thought is, you know, as elected officials, we get criticized for all sorts of things, justified or unjustified. Generally, it's unjustified. That's just my opinion. But, you know, being able to defend why you're doing what you're doing, why you're taking action, is, I think, a very necessary thing. And I think the more we learn about the social impacts of trauma, the stronger advocates we can be for what I would view as a caring, loving community. Now then, this last group of three did not flow from the goals, but are very, 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 held to be very, very important by the committee. And this one is the city help the committee identify suitable properties for an encampment with services. We know that our colleagues in Fort St. John are wrestling with this issue. If you follow the media, it's to the fore. All I know is this is a hot potato issue. And I just would like either of you like to speak to it. Just go ahead.
I think it's important to know that advocates don't believe that encampments are a solution to homelessness. It is a way to keep them alive until we can get some housing or some more stability in their lives. They need somewhere to go. They're not allowed to go most places. You can't set up a tent. So they need an area in which they're allowed to do that so that they can have a place. Many of them just have to walk all night long because there is no spot to be, or they get moved from that spot, or their tent, their housing, all the belongings, their home gets thrown away because they are somewhere where they're not supposed to be. If they had somewhere where they could go, an encampment, to have all their belongings, then that would be their essentially their stability until we could get better housing.
Yeah, it's understandable for sure. It's definitely a challenging thing. I know we've looked into some other communities that have done it, and Kevin and myself have reached out, and there's a lot of like challenges that have come with them, and like we're watching closely what other communities are doing, and it's not that we're trying to be followers. Like if there's solutions, we're open to listening to them, but also at the same time, if we have neighbors and that are doing something and it's working, like we don't need to be the first to come up with solutions if we can follow in some areas. But it's definitely one I've seen, and there's a couple of communities in the north, and they've had a lot of struggles with that and having encampments, whether it's ESS not being able to get in or just there's been some struggles. So it's tough, right? Like
It really is, because they need a place to be,
right?
Just moving from one place to another doesn't work. It's so hard to have that happen. And when your encampment or your home and all your belongings are thrown away, it's traumatizing, and it ripples through the community, and it ripples through to the support workers and to everybody involved. And then again, they're expected to start their life over tomorrow. Well, they just had all their items thrown away again, right?
Yeah,
they have nowhere to land. Yeah. And so with an area for them to do that where they're allowed to be, I think that we could see some more movement forward just in being allowed to be there.
And do you see so it says the city helped the committee to identify suitable spots, or is your vision that the city would help find that spot for the committee to operate it? No, I'm just wondering, because the wording sounds like that a little bit, so I'm just wanting some.
I think that there's some further discussion that needs to be had about that, about who's going to run it. Are we going to have an existing nonprofit run it or start something different? I think at this time we just need to have a conversation about whether you're open to help us acquire.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I think that's a good answer, because for so many of these things, as I said, this is providing information to council and giving council a opportunity to ask some initial questions. But ultimately, if you read for what's going on elsewhere, there's further dialogue. There's things that need to be shared that are somewhat personal and not suitable for this open meeting. There needs to be coming to some mutual understanding. So I see hoping for the outcome of this whole thing is increased awareness, and certainly some table discussions around some of these things, so that there can be a greater understanding of the what's that First Nation say? You can't judge a person until you walked a mile in their moccasins. Is that the correct? It's hard to walk in the moccasins of somebody you don't even know, and then to get to know them and walk it. But maybe your lived experiences can help a very caring group of people here understand, because they're a caring group as well. And that's the beauty of this place right now. And because some of these things are difficult to get your head around, right? And I had my difficulty, you need to know this, because, we're continually concerned about being downloaded upon, right, by other governments. But my hook on it is simply, this is about safety and well-being. And we do have a real interest in that, right? For our citizens, and for our businesses, and for our families.
For everyone.
Yeah, for everyone.
Everyone involved.
Yeah. So, just moving on, right? The city seeks a long-term shelter space. We have one in the community. Before you jump in, they'll talk about that. The city seeks a long-term shelter space that includes outdoor secure storage area for carts, bikes, and other large personal items, and assists with securing the necessary zoning approvals and licensing. And in our little meeting yesterday, I made the note, with qualified staff. So this one really, I think, needs to be, why the need for a second shelter?
I feel like where we're running into a lot of issues is with behaviors. I feel that we have a shelter that is doing the very best they can with the rules and parameters that they have. It's quite high barrier, so therefore we need it, and we also need a low barrier option. So we did speak a little bit about low barrier, but the idea is if somebody goes to a shelter, they get all their stuff taken away, all the things, right? So right now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but is you go in, your things are kind of taken and put somewhere, but they're not locked up. You don't have control over it, so you are giving all of your things and it's being taken away. So in a lot of circumstances, that's probably fine. But for these folks, huge barrier there. So if they get a lock with a key in it, with a string, that they can put around their neck, they go outside, they put all their stuff in either a locker, chain link, whatever, for the bigger things. They have the control to lock that up. They take their key, they go inside. They have an option to have a mat and a blanket and a pillow. They don't have to shower. If you have ever been sexually abused, being naked is very vulnerable. So to be expected that you have to shower in order to use. So it's just like all these little, things that are no big deal for us. It's like, oh, suck it up. If you don't want to freeze tonight, like have the shower. But I think it's just a little bit negligent to just make those assumptions. So something that's very, very low barrier. I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing things.
Is there other low barrier facilities that you're aware of? Similar to I understand completely what you're saying, every aspect of it. I'm just wondering if there is other.
Yes, there's an RCMP officer that used to work at a shelter. I think it's been for like 10 years, and I don't remember his name. But he used to work at one that was low barrier. And he's just like astonished that we don't have this situation. He's like, we just keep running up again, so he was equally as frustrated as I was. I don't remember his name, and I probably shouldn't use it without asking. But and he just said it worked. It worked well. He's like, we just need some different, like there's a curfew, there's what other things. And I am not tossing. Now again, they are doing amazing things. Like, do not think that this is like a bash our current shelter. We need it. We need a high barrier shelter for sure. It's just that we also need not all the barriers in the way for the people who can't do it.
I think what Nikki did a great job of describing is the barriers to the current shelter. And again, we need both. We appreciate that shelter. It needs to be there. But because of many reasons, there's so many barriers that Nikki mentioned. And for these individuals that we're talking about, these low barrier group of individuals, that is too much for them. Being expected to shower, having to leave all your items outside if you have large items. A lot of these individuals, you may know, have a cart with all their belongings in the whole world with them. Well, that would have to be left outside without being locked up in order for them to stay at the shelter. It's going to get stolen in 5 minutes. We all know that. And so the toss-up is, I can have shelter tonight, or I can lose everything I own. Some other barriers are that you have to sleep when you're there, because it's disruptive to everybody. And that's, the shelter building wasn't really made for a shelter, right? It was a dance studio, a water store. So they're not set up very well for a shelter, just with the limitations of their structure. And so you have to sleep when you're there because it's all in one room. A lot of our individuals that we're trying to support are in psychosis, are using amphetamines, are not sleeping. And then there's also the safety risk, right? Am I going to fall asleep in a room of 6 other street-involved women and feel comfortable like I can sleep? Maybe not. So there's lots of barriers like that. In January, many of us in this room set up a low-barrier cold weather shelter that we ran for 4 days just to meet the immediate need, because there is about 30 individuals who just have nowhere to go. They cannot access the shelter because of barriers or because of behavior, and so they're just kind of left in the wind. And those are the individuals we're talking about. It's great that a lot of individuals can use the shower, or use the shelter, but what are we doing with the ones that can't? We put in here specifically an outdoor secure storage area for carts, and that's exactly for what I mentioned earlier, is that they need somewhere to store their items in order to have shelter, or it'll be stolen. That's something we hear over and over again, is the need for their items to be protected if they're to have shelter.
The other thing that, Jane, correct me, but you haven't mentioned, is that some of the people in the middle of the night, they need their fix. And if they leave, they leave. They can't go back in.
That's right. There's a curfew. You have to be in by a certain time. Mm-hmm. If you're not in, you're not going to be able to have shelter, which is very hard if you don't have a watch and you're not sure what time it is or what day it is or anything like that, or you have substance use disorder or traumatic brain injury or delays that you can understand that. And yes, Charlie, then you can't leave. If you are in the shelter and you go out at night, you can't come back in, which is a significant barrier for a lot of people.
So we applaud the Narrowton for what they
Yes.
are doing, but there's a
Absolutely.
whole range of things. And the current shelter can accommodate 10 men and 7 women.
I believe that's
Is
correct.
that the right
yeah.
data?
Yeah.
I think 18 people.
And
yeah, or something.
I don't think the idea of a low barrier shelter should in any way replace the shelter that's already there and necessary, just to help with those individuals that can't stay there.
Right.
Also, I think it would be nice if when somebody has a behavior at one of the shelters, instead of being banned, they could bounce to the other shelter, have a cooling off period, go back to the other one.
Sure.
Also, with some conflict between individuals, sometimes it's not safe to stay at a shelter where other people are, and it would be nice to have the option to be able to have shelter in any of those scenarios.
So many complexities, right? Like
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
The last one, if I may, okay, is the city approves the installation of water access, showers, toilets, and community sharps containers. I think this one I need to say a few things. The idea here is that we know, well, one of the things that's linked to this is the fact that there's no place to toilet. So they soil people's property. There's no access to water for them. I remember the guy who runs the existing shelter, that was a big priority because they need water, right? The community sharps containers, that's just public health safety, right? And the one things that, why I'm not saying this one is kind of a bit of, may help the feelings of some business people that continually played with their property being soiled or what have you. That there's a place, at least a place to go for. That is the ask. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you want to add to it at all?
I think we've talked a lot today about like the no access to toilet, to water, to shower, or anything like that. Is there any questions about that one?
I don't know about that one, but if these are all, I just have one, like, so say there's, our community is made up of amazing people, and I think that's what makes Dawson Creek so great. So if there's some individuals out there that, potentially are listening to this or they're concerned seeing this, is this committee like a nonprofit? Is there like a place where, like, say there's an individual that would want to donate something or help in a way?
I'm going to respond to that, right? Okay. Yes, that's unfinished business. This has been talked about, and I think the inclination is that they're going to make a distinct society.
Okay. Thank you.
A not-for-profit society, but that is up to the committee. But that was a topic on the last meeting that we didn't get to, right? So, yes, I think that's the way they'll probably go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for questions here. So, Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, the committee. This is certainly a lot to consider and roll over and digest, for what it's worth. I guess in trying to, have an open mind and come into this without my own, perspectives, I'm trying to do that. I do want to articulate, I guess, a few areas where we as elected officials in a municipal government are challenged, or where we've been challenged in similar veins when we tried to previously address this. Because I think, number one, is the issue of capacity and continuity when we work with people. Like, as much as Dawson Creek might seem like a big town, it's actually a pretty small bench of people who do the kind of work you do, who do the kind of work our staff do. And oftentimes when we lose somebody, whether you're at a cat table or whatever, or you're having monthly calls or quarterly meetings, if an RCMP member leaves and that was kind of their designation, you end up back at square one. So as we look at building this capacity, whether it's being more educated, informed about trauma, about things like that. As your society begins to set up, I would strongly urge you to, have in place robust succession initiatives. As difficult as it is to acknowledge the degree of burnout in your particular, I won't call it industry, but discipline is significant, right? This is a lot of emotional labor you are bearing in the work you do. So that's one thing, I think, as far as trying to have a dialogue and keep in mind where we've been limited in the past is something to be mindful of. Secondly, I don't want to call it the word optics necessarily, but public support. The province is well intended, but they haven't necessarily done us a lot of favors in the last couple of years in how they've managed this issue, how they've communicated the issue, how they've allocated resources, the sense of urgency when issues have arisen, and they've burned through a lot of the public's goodwill. And as I was mentioning earlier with respect to the kind of conversations we're having, that's difficult, right? Is how do you get people who maybe once upon a time were fairly ambivalent about this, that are now, because they're just exhausted by, their business being, the many disorder aspects that come with it, they're just exhausted by it and they don't want to hear anymore. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to be very, very cognizant of, is how are we having this conversation and how do we get the public back on board for these initiatives? Because, these facilities, these programs, they don't exist in a vacuum, in isolation from the broader social context. And whether we like it or not, there is a democratic component to this. So we need to make sure we're bringing the public along as we do this work. And then thirdly, I guess from a legalistic standpoint, we as elected officials, when we're sworn into office and we take our oath of office, we have to swear to uphold and abide by the rule of law. And we cannot create bylaws which in any way subvert or suborn illegal activity. We can't order our staff to do anything that's against the law or to ignore things that are against the law. It might be inconvenient in some circumstances, and I understand for somebody who's living on the street and struggling with these issues, to be like, well, no, you can't take a shopping cart because it's not yours. It might seem trivial, but for us as a government, if we don't have to follow the rules, we can't expect anybody else to either. So that's where we're challenged. And I'm not saying this to in any way diminish what you've communicated here today. I think this is all very valuable, but it's also important that you understand what our limitations are and what we need in order to be effective collaborators in this. So I hope that is received in the spirit it was intended.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Is there any other discussion? I think, I guess, so what happens now is obviously there's some asks to the city. So when we have a delegation that comes in and presents this to us after the delegation is done, and then we talk about it as a council and kind of give some direction. But so that's kind of the process. I think before we get to that, Kevin, I don't know, if you have any comments or questions. I think there's a lot here that, I don't know if you have anything specific or no. Okay.
Well, just a comment. I think it's fair to say this committee or representatives of the committee are open to meeting with yourself or Kevin or whoever, just to talk about these things further, answer any questions, share some more information if you need it. And the council needs to chew on this and decide which things it can possibly act and which things it's
unable to.
It feels it's beyond its scope. But I do know just to leave this alone is not helping anything, right? And I know that this council will engage with this and do its best as it sees it can. But I do think that the one around the outreach bus is something that possibly many organizations might see that a way of contributing to support that. And so one of the reflections I have is, when the council makes any decisions, the office of the mayor plays a very big role in convening potential partners, right? To invoke some collective dialogue, understanding, and possible action.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think, I can speak on behalf of this council on this side that we're all here to be a voice and try and make our community the best place we can for everybody. There's no hidden agendas or things that we want. It's really I really believe in this council and our city team too, that we're here to help and we're here to work with community and empower it. And sometimes we can be part of the solution and sometimes we can just guide the solution, right? So it's, we're definitely, open to any avenues we can help with any organizations in the community. And like Councillor Earl said, we have some barriers too that, that allow us to do some things and make us unable to do some things. So, we definitely appreciate all of you for taking your time to come in here, but not even just to come in here, to what you do daily to help. And I know Councillor Parslow has kept me very informed along the way, and I know there's been a lot of work that you've done, so we appreciate that and thank you. And I don't know if there's any more that you want to add.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you. So, is there anybody else?
So now you can relax.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
I just want to talk to these two for a real quick second.
Okay, we're gonna, yeah.
Just outside?
Sure, we'll take a break, yeah. So for Monday, October 21st, 2024, back to order. So our next order of business was just under mayor's updates. It was 11.4, the delegation that we just heard from the Community Homelessness Committee. So I don't know if somebody wanted to put forward a motion, or Kevin, if you had any ideas, but I think there's a, obviously appreciative of the committee coming in here and their asks, but there's a large diversity in those asks. So I don't know if it would make the best would be to have appoint somebody from the city or city team to work with the committee to kind of understand a little bit more or bring something back to council on what there is. So what are your thoughts?
So through your worship, I would think if council's interested in getting more information on any of these and just what the possibilities are, costs, feasibilities, I think the most logical next step is to refer back to staff for a report to cover off those items. And then that would enable you to make some informed decisions based on what we can dig up on that, what it looks like.
And do you see that motion referring to all these asks as a whole, or do you want us to go through them individually?
No, Your Worship, I would just as a whole, and then I'd bring back a report that would just itemize each particular ask and just what the implications of that is. And
yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I guess just to expound on that, I think there are a few items on here that you could confidently call relatively, I don't want to say low-hanging fruit, but, low cost, easy to roll the ball, like, releasing staff to attend workshops on the social impacts of trauma held in the city. we're fairly keen to make sure staff is well trained in their work. So I don't see that being an issue. With respect to the RCMP, I don't know if it's something we need to request formally or the next time there's a committee of the whole meeting, obviously, to ask the staff sergeant for what kind of training is currently mandatory and what's available, and then try and make those connections. And then I think, we'll need more information around something like as comprehensive community safety and well-being plan. What format does that take? What is it? And it takes staff time, and it's going to take resources, or a decent amount of resources, to facilitate. City staff, we've got kind of informal subcommittees around things like economic development or around transportation that a couple councillors take a keen interest in. I don't think there's anything to prevent us from impaneling one that includes a couple of us to ensure that we're getting the same training we're asking staff to undertake. So I think there's a few items that we can knock off fairly quickly and easily, and then some that are going to take a bit more figuring. So that's my thoughts on the matter.
So with that, what are your thoughts on direction, or like getting city team to look at all of this as a whole? Or
we can look at it as a whole, but I just wanted to note for the sake of the committee here, or the people who've come to present us here, that there are some items which I think are fairly easy for us to take action on very, very quickly, and some that are going to require some input from staff on, what, as we've noted, what some other communities are doing and what's worked and what's effective, because, this is a very, delicate needle to try and thread in so far as how we have a positive impact and we bring the community along for that. So,
yeah. Okay. Did you want to make a motion?
Sure. As to Kevin's point, I would move that staff prepare a report on the items, the asks council from the committee, and that the report identify, the various implications, but also, which ones can be fairly easily enacted at a low cost, and then those that require more work can be given that time.
I think you'd have a second, Councillor Apollonio.
Sorry, I know that doesn't make for a very neat motion. My apologies. I would have spent the break writing something had I known the mayor was going to put me on the spot.
You're not used to that yet? How are you on that, Janice? Are you?
She's wordsmithing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that sounds good. There's probably some, I know, like just what we've been through the last couple of years. Like, I know there's been lots of training and stuff that bylaw and have had. So it's there might be some that have already happened too. So, any other discussion on that? No. Could you pull their cards? Thank you. All right, if there's no more discussion, I'll call that motion to vote. Just need one more vote there. Vote is closed, and it's carried. All right, so I think that, so just do you need a motion to adjourn? Councillor McDonald. Oh, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just want to say.
Sorry, Councillor.
So, unless I hear to the contrary, I will continue to facilitate meetings with the Homeless Committee, and probably be best, if you think I've got a conflict of interest, I would bow out of voting, okay?
Okay.
You think about it, whatever you feel is appropriate. So, and I would like you and Kevin to meet with the 2-3 people to get in even deeper stuff that we're not comfortable sharing here, that you get a better feel for what's going on.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And I guess too, just for the committee too, what Councillor Earl was talking about, we don't have like portfolios in the city, like where one councillor just looks after one thing. We kind of went through a strategic planning session within our council and kind of took like what each councillor is passionate about and what they like, and we've kind of split up into groups and we kind of just help each other out, work more as a team on some of that. So that's what Councillor Earl was referring to. So there might be a couple councillors that, you know, might want to sit or be liaisons, or, you know, just to join and help, or, you know, and educate and listen. And then we work very closely as a group. So I know Councillor Parzo spent a lot of time with you, and he's informed myself and Kevin, you know, on a lot of it. So we tend to work. We find like anything, the more of us that do things, the easier it is, and the more we can get done. So yeah. Okay. Anything else? No? All right. Just a motion to adjourn. So Councillor McDonald, second. Councillor Apollonio, I'll call that motion. That is closed. And it's carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.